Welcome to this week's episode of One on One, New York's longest sports running call-in show. And we have a very special episode today as it's graduation day here at Fordham. So congrats to everyone graduating. It's also a great time to be a New York sports fan with the Knicks and Yankees winning yesterday. We have a stacked show for you guys today, but let's get some introductions out of the way. I'm George Sfouggatakis, joined here by Bradley Birne. How are we doing today, Bradley?
I could not be better. First off, thank you so much, Joe Henry, for choosing me and George. You literally could not have chosen a better group of hosts for this show than us two. We are going to be talking about, obviously, the Knicks, but I am just very excited for this show. I'm glad to be back in the studio after...
Yeah, exactly. First one since finals being done.
Yeah.
We're back in the studio, and it's just a great time. Just to start, Fordham baseball is in an interesting position. They're playing George Mason today. It's do or die for them. They need a W, and George Washington needs to lose for Fordham to be playing in the playoffs. George Washington is playing St. Louis today. And on the topic of baseball, we have some Yankee tickets to give away. The question, if you want to answer the question, call 718-817-2750. And the question is, who won the NBA Finals in honor of the Knicks making the Eastern Conference Finals yesterday? Who won the NBA Finals MVP the last time the Knicks won a championship in 1973? That is, who won the NBA Finals MVP the last time the Knicks won a championship in 1973? Once again, the phone number is 718-817-2750. Call here, give us an answer, and maybe you'll win 2 tickets to the Yankees versus Cleveland Guardians game on June 5th. At 7:05 p.m. here in the Bronx. Bradley, what is your opinion of the last 24 hours of New York sports?
I just have, a very mixed emotion. It feels like, obviously, I'm very happy that the Knicks finally managed to, get out of this series with no injuries, thankfully, especially during those last 5 minutes of the fourth quarter.
God willing.
I was praying, Tibbs, just take the starters out, please. But I'm glad to be getting a little bit of a mental break into Wednesday because the Knicks have made me nervous all playoffs long. So
it's been 3 weeks of constant stress, everything. My Instagram story has been spammed with all Knicks stuff. Timothy Chalamet love there too.
They're milking Timothy Chalamet a little bit too much. He's starting to turn to that Taylor Swift for the Chiefs, but he's a Knicks fan, so he gets a pass.
He grew up a Knicks fan. There was a picture of him I saw on Instagram the other day of him with Landry Fields where he won 2 tickets. It was in 2009, 10. That was when Landry Fields was our starting small forward. Dark times back then. But yeah, there was a picture of him I saw on Instagram where he found Landry Fields, where Timothy Chalamet found Landry Fields in Grand Central Station and won 2 tickets to a game. So that's how you know it's not like Taylor Swift where she just became Taylor Swift just became a Chiefs fan because of Travis Kelce. This guy has genuine love for the New York Knicks.
He's been a fan since his day one.
Yeah, for sure.
He's been loyal.
Yeah, definitely. And the Yankees and the Mets. What's your opinion? I know you're a Mets fan. I'm a Yankees fan. It was a good day. Yankee Stadium was bouncing yesterday.
Yeah, obviously I didn't watch that game because of course the Knicks, but to me, the Mets offense just has to get going. Obviously, Pete Alonso has been really, really good, but just the Mets offense needs to get going. The pitching has been out of this world. If you told me,
Tyler Megill yesterday, out of this world, gave him 5 runs.
Obviously before yesterday, but if you were to tell me before the season started that the Mets would have the second lowest bullpen ERA and a top 3 in terms of ERA, and then the offense wouldn't be good, I would think that you.
It's very, very confusing there because you expect the Mets offense to be electric, especially with Alonso, Soto, and Lindor, and the pitching to be rather questionable. It's a polar opposite this year for the Mets.
Yeah, because that was the biggest thing going to the season. The Mets would have to score 10 runs in order to, win a game. But Kodai Senga has been really, really good. I'm so glad that Kodai Senga is finally getting good innings and is finally healthy, especially after what happened last year with the injury. And actually, Tyler McGill, I picked you up in fantasy before yesterday's game, and
that must be treating you well.
Yeah, I lost my matchup, so it's not really treating me well. But I'm actually very glad with how the Mets pitching has been doing, and they don't even have Frankie Montas or Sean Manaea yet. I don't know when they're supposed to be returning. I think hopefully Sean
Montas was on a 60-day. No, wasn't Frankie Montas on the 60-day?
I know Sean Manaea was on the 60-day. So once they get those 2 guys back, it's it's gonna be.
But then you look at the Yankees, were you mentioning bullpen area before, whose bullpen's struggling.
Yeah,
You have
but
the-
Max Fried though has
Max Fried
shout out to Max
dealing.
Fried.
Max Fried, he's looking like the same old Max Fried that the Mets had to deal with for many years
Yeah,
on the Braves, and but you look at the bullpen with Devin Williams struggling. It's very questionable. Luke Weaver's just a stud. But then you have Jonathan Loizaga coming back yesterday, which is a beautiful help to the Yankees bullpen, especially with worries and with Max Fried going not Max Fried with Luke Weaver pitching like an inning and a half, 2 innings here, and then you have Ryan Yarbrough who's extended relief, sometimes starting games. The bullpen's a little questionable for the Yankees, but with Devin Williams warming up, Devin Williams will be back. And then you have Jonathan Loizaga coming back off the IL yesterday. Good things are coming for New York baseball in the next couple months.
no, definitely. And Max Fried right now is my AL Cy Young pick. I know Tarek Skubal and Jacob DeGrom, who we will talk about later.
Yeah, we will
is
touch on
up
Jacob
there.
DeGrom, which is
If we're
it's
putting
refreshing. It's refreshing to
It's-
talk about Jacob DeGrom.
that 2018 season when I had season tickets was some of the best baseball I've probably ever witnessed in my entire life. I mean,
Jacob DeGrom
man.
is like the Mike Trout of pitchers. It's
Yeah.
it's a good day when you have
when he's doing good.
when
and
you have
not injured.
when you have Jacob DeGrom pitching. Just period. When Jacob DeGrom pitches, it's a good day. When Mike Trout takes the field, it's a good day. Like we had years of constant. Mike Trout would play 10 games. Mike Trout played 5 games, 15 games here, 20 games there. Jacob DeGrom pitch every once in a while. Now we're looking at a season where we might have constant Jacob DeGrom and Mike Trout baseball.
I mean, well, Mike Trout's been on the injured list.
It
But I
was
think
it
it would
was
be
it
next
was when it was like awareness. It was like looking out to prevent it from getting worse.
Okay, that's a good thing because if Mike Trout gets another like a season-ending injury or something, then you kind of have to look at it like
It was like looking out for, I think it was his ankle or his hamstring.
yeah. I think he tweaked something a couple of games ago, and then they took him out. And
Yeah. It was only on a 10-day, but
Okay, good.
for his knee.
As
But
long as it's not like extended time
no,
that he's
thank
out.
God.
But man, I can't believe we're actually getting healthy like seasons from Mike Trout and Jacob DeGrom the same year before GTA 6 drops.
Next championship before GTA 6.
I think it'll happen, but we'll talk about that later.
I think we're gonna bring it to a break. We have a Mike Magpayo interview coming up. Fordham's new head coach hired from UC Irvine, talking about his first month on the Rose Hill campus. We'll be back shortly after that. He has an interview with some of our seniors.
Lou Orlando, Nick Guzman, Chaz McAdams are joined by Fordham men's basketball head coach Mike Magpayo. Coach, you've had some time to settle down, make some moves in the transfer portal. We're real happy to have you here in the FUV studios. Thanks for coming by.
Of course, man. This is an awesome studio. Never been down here before. Very cool.
Well, we're very lucky to be here and get to work here 24/7. Yeah. But I guess, let's start with, the last time we really saw you publicly was at the introductory press conference. It had been a whirlwind. You come to New York City and, everything's going immediately. It's been about a month now. So I guess month check-in.
Yeah.
How's everything been? Again, you've been able to fill out this roster a little bit, add to the coaching staff. Just talk us through when that's been like.
Yeah, it's really been like a New York minute, like you said in the last month. It's been going fast, and trying to get the staff together, trying to put the pieces of a roster together, which is daunting. And we've just been working nonstop at it, kind of like you're saying, 24/7 here in the studio. We're 24/7 up there in Rose Hill right now. So, but it's been going well. There's obviously been, I'll say, like a little bit of a honeymoon period. People are excited about what we can offer the program, and some people are jumping in saying yes. But we still need a couple big dogs, as we say, looking for a couple all-league type players, and that search continues even today.
And Coach, what you're trying to do is you're putting together a team with not a lot of time to do so. But when you're looking to recruit and you're looking at players, what specific attributes are you looking for that tell you that person would fit well on a Mike Magpayo coach team?
Yeah. First, we definitely character, the great attitude, great work ethic, what you guys heard me say at the press conference. That is number one, and trying to figure that out. So we're vetting these guys now, especially in this new, we'll call it the NIL transfer portal world. Like, you have to make sure that these guys are good dudes, and they're made of the right stuff, and they're tough enough to go through what is going to be a really demanding program for them. I mean, we're pretty relentless in our approach of accountability and the way that we use metrics and whatnot. So, and that kind of goes towards recruiting. I'm looking for efficient players. So guys that shoot efficiently from 2, efficiently from 3, that take care of the ball, that have positive assist-to-turnover ratios. Efficiency can also be rebounding and also being a good defender. So you're looking, I'll say a 6'2" player, guys that can dribble, drive, pass, shoot, defend, and rebound. But still, there's metrics that we use to see how efficient they are, and that kind of helps us in constructing the roster. And everybody's got to have different roles, too. Not everybody. There's going to be some higher usage guys. You'll hear me talking these analytics all the time, but some guys that higher usage guy, I guess for you guys, would be like Jackie Johnson. That was one guy that was a high usage guy. And Medor, that was another one. So, and then you got to mix in the guys that complement them well. So that we're looking at all those things. And then talent, you want talent. I mean, of course you're trying to find that, but that's where the challenge is, right? Like, we are we're Moneyball. We're the Oakland A's. We're not the Dodgers right now. We're trying to be strategic and find undervalued assets. So it's a lot of fun. I see it as a huge opportunity that I get to build the roster from the ground up. But so it's not as easy. It's like, if I could say, like, okay, Mike Magpayo team, I want positional size, so on and so forth. And you're seeing we're getting some big guys, and I do like the positional size. I want to have some length, but it's what can you attract with the resources that we have, So that's a big part of it right now.
But building off of the traits, I remember you saying in the press conference that there's a certain attitude to New York City, and you want to find guys that are bought into being in New York City. So how do you evaluate that? Whether that's on tape, whether that's in interviews where you can deem their character, like, what are you looking for with that?
That's the first slide of our presentation when we do the recruiting Zooms. And nowadays it's like speed dating, the way that recruiting is. And this 2 months used to be the time off for coaches, and now it's turned into this really, like, you're on the hustle, you're trying to figure. So that's like the first slide in the presentation. Number one, like, if a guy's from a big city, that helps. If they're from Chicago, like, we just signed a kid from, well, we haven't signed, I can't talk about his name yet, but he committed to us from Chicago. So you're looking for guys like that. Obviously, if we can get bounce backs, or if we find a really good incoming freshman from the area that's from New York City, but it's just addressed right away. Like, are you into this? Is this something you're attracted to? So that is just first and foremost, and then we can get into the rest of it. Mm-hmm. But we have to cover that right away, and usually know that pretty early on.
You talked about that positional size that you guys are looking for, and just kind of speaking, because obviously you're essentially starting from scratch on this roster with a limited amount of time. And especially with that new legislation for the NCAA with those roster spots on the floor. It's just kind of a very chaotic time to be a coach in college basketball. So kind of light at the end of the tunnel thing. What can you speak on with Jack Whitborn? Obviously, that new signing that you guys just got. Just what is he going to bring to the table in the Rose Hill Gym?
Yeah, that was it for me. That's an exciting one because I recruited him personally out of Australia. That's been our point of difference, and that's where we get a lot of our size from. In the past, my 5 years as head coach at UC Riverside, we've gone down under to get size, and to be able to get him and bring him along with us, who had a very good freshman campaign. That's kind of what you're looking for as a freshman to play 13 to 15 minutes a game. And his metrics of averaging, he was one of the best rebounders per minute in the country. So we know that's what we're getting. He's 6'11" and a true 18-year-old freshman at the time. Now he's coming in as a 19-year-old here, getting bigger, stronger, plays for the Australian national team. Very exciting one for us. I think he's a potential all-league player in the Atlantic 10 in the future. Just his skill and just the competitive nature that he has. He does have some toughness to him. He has both his parents are really impressive doctors, and they really have this high-performing mindset for him. They're actually tougher on him than I am, which is great. So that one's a really exciting one for us, and I think the Rose Hill crowd's going to love him.
And Coach, even with the nature of the transfer portal these days, with older players, you can turn a bad team into a good team really quickly. But how important is it to emphasize the importance of recruiting still young players and bringing in freshmen and continuing that cycle?
Yeah, you nailed it. We got to have balance. So we have signed some older players, and we have some older players committed to us, like grad transfers and guys who've been in college for 2-3 years. But that's why it's so important to bring in like those freshmen that we're talking about. You want to try to, in today's world, and my AD doesn't love when I say it's like you're looking at 2 years. You're going to have these guys for your goal is to keep a guy for 2 years. Can you keep him for 2 years? So if you have him as a freshman playing for 13 to 15 minutes a game, and then boom, he comes back because he believes that next year he's going to be popping up to 20, 25 minutes a game. Those 2 years are hugely valuable. So you do need the young ones coming through, and in the future as we get good, the New York City and the Northeast kids are going to start to want to come here as well. It may not be the name brand right now until we start winning games. But I'm definitely going to be looking for some of those younger guys. And then Europe, we're going to be an international. We'll find some younger guys to develop, and hopefully you keep from 2, and then maybe you keep them for 3, especially if you get your NIL resources up to par.
It's a really interesting jumping point for something I wanted to ask you about, which is obviously the NIL era has changed a lot. But when you look at the A10 and the teams that have turned themselves into consistent programs, I think right now probably all agree that VCU has been the gold bar because you look at they've changed coaches a few times.
Yeah.
They've had completely different rosters, and it still feels like you can lock them in. They're going to be a top 4 team in the A10. In an era of basketball where you can go 2 seasons, and as you said, you might have a completely different roster. You might have to rely on older, experienced guys. How do you create culture when the faces are going to change?
Oh, I still think. I mean, you look at teams like VCU, and on the West Coast, it's Gonzaga, St. Mary's, San Diego State. Like they change over. Gonzaga obviously is similar to VCU in that they have the most resources in the league, but that was built over time. Like you got to respect what Mark Few's done there, and same thing. On the West Coast, St. Mary's is one of those programs that's just established itself year after year. Doesn't matter the faces change, but that the coaching and the culture of what Randy Bennett does. VCU is so interesting. Obviously, they have an amazing arena, and the fan base, and the Richmond really supports them in a big time way. And you see it. I mean, all the coaches that have gone through there, Shaka Smart, Will Wade, so on and so forth. They've all had Coach Odom have had enormous amounts of success. That's the one I look at is like St. Bonaventure, just to see like that culture. Of what Coach has done there is so impressive, man. I look up to him so much because he's done it at a hard place in Olean, New York, which somebody would consider that a hard place, and he's built a consistent culture, and or at least it feels like that. If you actually look at his record, he's had some down years and whatnot, but they're just when you talk about St. Bonaventure, you just go like there's a consistency, and that's what I would look to replicate here at Fordham. Just like understanding, like when you think of them, you think well coached, gritty. And that's kind of the identity that's been established, an identity that I'd like to establish here, just something of that nature.
And then part of that identity, obviously, I think as a head coach, you're only as good as your staff. Like that is so important for your player development, for how you're doing your minutes, for adjustments that you're making on the fly. bring in Derek Phelps.
Yeah.
Yesterday. What is he bringing to your program, and how is he going to continue that legacy for the Fordham Rams?
Number one, he's my bodyguard in New York City. He's also great, I guess, eye candy for the program, just because he's in New York City, born and raised. He's one of New York City's sons who won a national championship, and so you can imagine just all the wisdom that he brings and expertise. Also being a big guard, so it's a big point guard. I'm captain and learned under Dean Smith. It is a really easy selling point to recruit guards, saying that we have a national championship point guard. Not only he was the captain of that team that won the national championship. Not only that, when Chris Webber called that timeout, it was Coach Phelps who was trapping him. And also just that he knows our program. He worked for my mentor at 3 different universities, in Columbia University, where Coach Phelps and I crossed paths, University of San Francisco, where we worked. Coach Phelps and I spent a year together, and then he went with Coach Smith, Kyle Smith, my mentor, to Washington State. So he was an associate head coach at 3 different stops. He knows exactly the way that we think as a program. The program that we're going to run and the blueprint of it is very similar to what he experienced there. So just having that continuity and that relationship, the players will feel that as well, that there is some like a seamlessness between the way that Coach Phelps and I will operate.
Talking about exciting guards, I'm seeing a lot of excitement about your backcourt. And DeJour, Chaz got a great quote from one of his teammates about the type of player DeJour is, and obviously he was a leading scorer for Iona. Talking to Andrew Bogish, he was really excited about Christian Henry out of Eastern Michigan, and then even Lesman. I'm seeing a lot of people say like he's a really exciting guy that, you know, if he's a starter, he's going to give you guys great minutes. What are you expecting from this backcourt? Should Fordham fans be excited about that?
Well, all 3 of those guys aren't officially signed yet,
Okay.
so
I'm
not
sorry.
allowed to. That's okay. I'm not. You can talk about them, but let's talk about backcourt potential signees or
Sure.
whatever. You know, as you're looking for production. I think that any of the backcourt guys that we're looking at or that have are looking at jumping in are extremely efficient. You know, when you look at these guys' numbers, you're going to see high percentages in a lot of areas. Or, you know, there'll be a player, for instance, perhaps one of the guys that you guys know is coming, he had a ridiculously efficient year 2 years ago. And so we're identifying, okay, maybe he struggled on a team because their team wasn't as good offensively. And can we, in this new environment, can we revitalize him and get him back to those ridiculously efficient numbers from 2 seasons ago? And we've done that in the past. So I think you're going to see all the guys in the backcourt that can make threes. That's going to be really exciting. And then they all have their different strengths. Some are lengthy defenders, some are really quick penetrators. So you're going to see, I think, an exciting backcourt for sure. One that can definitely make threes, and then hopefully we can just bring the leadership part of it. But all 3 of those potential backcourt guys that we're going to get have experience, have college experience, and that's the other exciting thing is we're old. We would be old at the perimeter, which is good.
Coach, we've seen, you know, for us during our time here, our sophomore year, the Rose Hill Gym, a historic venue, we had a really good team, and that place got loud. It shook. It was packed to the brim. Last year at Riverside, you guys were 14-1 at home.
Yeah.
Kind of turned that place into a sanctuary. How important is it to have that home court advantage and have the Rose Hill Gym sort of popping off in a way that we all know can?
Oh, it's priority number 1.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that I took a lot of pride in it. You know, I also am not the kind of guy who's going to say, like, hey, you know, marketing people, ticketing people, like now it's our job to pack the gym.
Mm-hmm.
With number 1, the kind of guys that we recruit, that they're in class with you guys, and you're like, this guy's a good dude, and this guy's, but, you know, also with just the a winning product on the floor. You know, that really is what it comes down to. I think the people will come. You know, my mentor, Coach Smith, would say that all the time. He's like, stop asking the ticketing people, like, you know, we will do it. You'll see us out there, and I'll buy pizzas for everybody. I will do that. I will do whatever it takes because I really do think that helps you win. I didn't think there was a study somebody sent me like 10 years ago. The officials absolutely respond to the crowd. They will call differently in front of our bench versus in front of the opponent's bench. And so you're telling me a sold out. Just in those few workouts that I had this spring, I couldn't hear myself when the ball was bouncing.
Mm-hmm.
It's that loud in Rose Hill. So I can't even imagine what it feels like if that place is packed. So, you know, you're talking about our 14-1 record. that doesn't happen without the 40% increase in attendance in the for UCR home history. Like it wouldn't have happened without it. And I can tell you for sure the crowds mattered, and I definitely believe it affects the officiating. I really do. So bring it. Keep them coming.
I mean, I'd love to talk a little bit about UCR because you come in under David Patrick and have a couple strong seasons there, and then you take it over. And I've talked to a few people that said Riverside is such a tough place to win at. And not only did you win, you did it consistently and very loudly and successfully. When you look at Fordham, I've heard a lot of people call Fordham a sleeping giant because of where it is and, again, the fan base when it gets passionate. But on paper, this is a struggling program.
Yeah.
You had experience with turning a struggling program around. What are the keys to that? What did it take at Riverside to get them to a place where they could win 20 games?
Yeah, I really do see it as a sleeping giant, and we're in New York City. You know what I mean? And very similar pitch. UC Riverside is in Southern California, but it's a little outside of LA. And so we're here in New York City, but we're in the Bronx, right? With a beautiful campus and a beautiful academic profile. So very similar things to sell. And like I said, first thing when we got to UC Riverside, and I worked for David Patrick, who was Australian, like I said, our point of difference, we went where they ain't. Like if I was going to if I'm here and I have to bang my head against the wall and just recruit against New York City, St. John's, and we're not going to win that battle yet until we start winning. We didn't recruit Southern California kids. We did our job like we were supposed to, and we knew all the Southern California kids, but we went where they ain't. So we went where people were going to appreciate Southern California. That was our Northern California kids. That might have been somebody from Arizona or Chicago that wanted to move to Southern California, experience that. And the same thing here in New York City. Now you're looking at international kids. Like those guys are going to be really interested in coming to New York City. And Canadians, we did really well at Columbia, recruiting Canada and Germany. And so we'll look for more of the same here. So that's how you kind of build it. You go where they ain't. You're not necessarily trying to go up against, let's say, any of the league. You're just not going against VCU Dayton. You're trying to recruit from different buckets first. Once you build it, they will come. When you build it, you'll start to see, and all of a sudden at UC Riverside, our best player the last 2 years was a Los Angeles kid. Now we finally got our Los Angeles kid, and we started recruiting Southern California. So that's what I hope to do. But really, and then it really California. So that's what I hope to do. But really, and then it really get a great coaching staff together. That's 2 weeks. Get a great coaching staff together that can do a great job building relationships with these guys, and then the culture, all that stuff matters. So that's what we're looking to do.
Real quick on the staff, because it's become a little bit of a storyline in the A-10. Do you think Fordham needs a GM and whatever that would look like? Is that something you would consider either this year or down the line?
I do think so. For now, it's doable without a GM. One of my great friends, Coach Golden at Florida, they basically, and that's exactly how we're operating. We're kind of managing that ourselves, but you're seeing a lot of programs go with a GM because it's just a different world. It's like if I have to talk to the agents and I have to coach the player, it's like I'm using my coaching equity in the negotiations as well. And really all I want to talk to the player about is basketball and recruit him there. So in essence, you're doing both, right? Like you're the GM and the coach, and it's absolutely doable. Golden at Florida just won a national championship, and so it is nice to have a little bit of input and control in who you're signing. I don't know if you want to go full GM, but it is nice to have a GM that's going to negotiate with the agent, and it's not as clean. Like this is happening fast. Like these student athletes, these players, they don't realize like this is a real professional business now. There's hundreds of thousands of dollars of line, some millions. And these agents, not all of them are equipped as well, you know what I mean, to like operate the way that NBA agents, people who have been doing it for a long time. So it's happening really fast. I do think that eventually we will probably move in that direction or have somebody that has a list of agents and knows how to communicate and negotiate with them.
Absolutely. And I guess there's a lot of chaos right now in college basketball, especially with that legislation on the Senate floor. Can you kind of speak to like an uneducated mass on how that affects you as a coach with those 15 scholarships, that limit? Can you just kind of speak to that?
Well, for us, we're not going to have 15 scholarships. We're going to have 13, but the 15 roster spots, I think, listen, the NCAA's changed things constantly. It's the most volatile offseason in college basketball history. There's no question about it. Right. And we're in transition right now, so we're feeling it at the nth degree. Mm-hmm. hopefully they get this thing passed soon so that everybody can move forward and know the direction we're going in. But unfortunately, what they're eliminating is walk-ons, which is really disappointing.
Right.
Doesn't make sense to me and many people, which is kind of what's holding up the official.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what because again, I this is near and dear to my heart. Like walk-ons is such an important part of college because I think it's so different from football because you have a million walk-ons in college football and you got guys that actually play. But you talked about the continuity that you need in a program like Fordham, and you talked about only being able to keep your really solid players for 2 years. You're going to get that continuity from your walk-ons.
I mean, we remember we had a kid, Albie Evans,
He was captain his senior year.
5'9",
5'9",
but broke all these scoring records in Pennsylvania.
In Schuylkill Haven, Pennsylvania, where Mike Rhodes is from.
His nickname was the mayor of Rose Hill. He would get standing ovations. And he didn't play in a lot of big games, but he would get in at the end if the score was lopsided. But the community really loved him and rallied around, and he was a huge part of the team. And every single player, whether it was Chu Bohams or Antrell Charlton, they would all tell you that they would die for that.
Yeah.
And again, it's such a big part of the game.
Yeah, I don't. Again, that particular rule, the roster spot, just doesn't make sense to many of us. Doesn't make sense to me at all. I don't get why would they suffer? Why are we punishing walk-ons? Give 15 scholarships. First of all, I don't even know why they're giving 15 scholarships. That doesn't make sense to me.
Who is maintaining 15 especially
everybody's going to maintain it, but I mean they're using those other two in unique ways, right? I mean, as you can imagine, because think about it, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 are mad at me every single game.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you do need young ones, because you should have two redshirting, 12 and 13, and 11 and 10. Maybe they're playing sometimes, but they're not. Most coaches get down to a 7 to 8 man rotation down the stretch, So, yeah, I hope they figure that out. I think that they're just so getting hit from every angle. The NCAA, they just keep they're getting sued all the time, so they're just saying yes to this, yes to that. Things are changing constantly. Eventually, maybe it won't, but hopefully they figure it out in the next 2-3 years, because this thing kind of needs to level out a little bit. But who knows, man?
Coach, shifting gears a little bit, Fordham's a very unique school. We all love it, but in terms of location, profile, I think student body, it's got a uniqueness to it. What have you learned about the school in your limited time here so far? I know it's only been over a month. Maybe it's something that surprised you.
Well, I've been here for the best month ever because it's been beautiful weather. And just to see it, because like I said in my press conference, I had only been here to recruit Rose Hill, in Rose Hill when I recruited the high school playoffs every year during my Columbia days. Never walked around campus. So number one, it's gorgeous. And definitely I've seen, everybody I ask, if I'm going to this building to meet with the admissions later, I'm going to this building to meet for somebody to give me a key. People have been here for 14 years, 22. Public safety guy had to open the door for me the other night. He'd been here for 14 years, and his kids went to college here, and he's like, can I drive you back to your apartment? So everybody's really proud of Fordham. I think everybody is proud of the college they went to, but if I'm wearing Fordham and I go on a plane, I was flying out of Newark down to San Antonio for the Final Four after my press conference. People are just random people saying,
you'll get it all the
Rams.
time.
Constantly.
Yeah.
And so just that you can feel it. That's real. There's no question about it. I mean, that is real, 100%. And many people, we were at Wednesday night, we were down at the NIAC, New York Athletic Club for Dickie V's. They give him an award, and then they honored Gina Ariema and Todd Golden. So I was there to support and I mean, I just constantly people are coming with some sort of Fordham dad, son, or I went to Fordham Law School or whatever it is. So there's so much pride. It is over. It's fantastic. I really see. That's why I see that we can build it, and if we could put a winning product on the floor, this thing could blow up. You know what I mean? In a great way. So. And they want to, everybody wants it. Everybody keeps introducing themselves to me. And first of all, it's awesome because we had our recruits one time walking down the street, and everybody just started yelling at me, and the guy, it was just perfect. It was awesome, and we got 3 of those guys committed, and so you can feel it. I've certainly, even I'm talking to my wife, but I'm like, hey, I think you guys are gonna love it. Just I want my 4-year-old and 3-year-old just hanging around campus all the time, because it is really unique, in that it's all this. We're all our little hub. Coach Phelps always calls it Harry Potter, like Harry Potter land. This little beautiful land here inside the Bronx. That's, we're very. But like I said, man, I'm addicted to Arthur Avenue already. I go there twice a day.
What's your favorite spot on it?
I mean, I like Michelangelo's. Enzo's
Right.
and Marios are good, but Michelangelo's just because I know that there's TVs in the back that we can watch the games. So we've been kind of like closing our nights as a staff there. I love that hall with a cigar roller in the middle. Cause I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
'cause I'm like,
The covered market. The covered
like
market. Yeah.
every win, I said we're coming here, and we're getting a cigar or something. So that's really cool, that market. So I love it both. I love going in the morning and getting a coffee and just kind of sitting watching all the madness going on, and then we usually close our nights there. So hopefully I'm getting fat though. I'm eating way
It's all
too much
good.
Italian food.
Welcome
and
to
deli
Arthur
stuff.
Avenue. Yeah,
Oh
exactly.
my God.
You're right about the weather. I would say that the 4 best months at Fordham: September, October, and
Yeah.
then it's April, May. It gets
April,
a little
May.
humid in the summer.
Yeah, it
It's-
gets humid.
it's-
I'm sure. Yeah.
It's gorgeous. I want to talk about analytics because it feels like every place you've been at. I mean, the quote from Kyle Smith was that at Columbia, you completely revolutionized their analytics. I've heard similar things at all your different stops. I don't need to know any of the trade secrets or anything like that. I'm more curious about, as an outsider, I guess I'm not sure. Where is analytics at in college basketball right now? Like, is it fully here? Are most
Yeah.
programs completely dug in on analytics at this point?
Yeah, I feel like we were just at the forefront back at Columbia, 2010 and 2014. And everybody Kyle was super analytically sound, and we kind of started to speak in that language. And I think everybody is caught up to what we were doing back then. Like everybody looks at Ken Palm, which is Ken Pomeroy. Everybody uses that in their scouting reports. There's no question it's caught up. I think that, but even when we were hanging out Wednesday night, and I was with Todd Golden and Kevin Hovde, who's now the head coach at Columbia, Dan Giroux at Iona, and we're all very close friends. Dave Klatsky, who was former NYU head coach, who's going down in Florida. The way that we speak, I don't even know if everybody would understand it. Like it's just like we speak in usages and offensive ratings, like that is how we recruit, and that's how we decide who we're taking. We speak in assist rate, we speak like just different rebounding rates as opposed to just like rebounding margin, which would be like the way that people talked 15 years ago, or assist to turnover. We're looking at different things, so we're looking at it through a different lens. We obviously really, really believe in it. I think I think we all benefited, obviously, from both Coach Smith, who's gone to Stanford, but we keep joking around with him, like, because we always talk about this is going to be a movie. We all started at Columbia, and when Todd made the Final Four, we're like, oh, it's for sure going to be the movie. But when Golden won the national championship, we're like, Coach Smith, you're no longer the star
Yeah.
of this. And he's like, that's all right. I'll just narrate it. I'll narrate it. And he's like, but it's not going to be a movie anymore. It's going to be a 2-season Netflix. I mean, like this thing is going to happen. I'm telling you, because it really is just where Kobe Allman, and unfortunately they're down 0-2, but the Cleveland Cavs had the best record in the NBA at the same time. And Todd Golden won the national championship, and Coach Smith's had his dream job Stanford, and I'm here at Fordham, and he's joking around. He's like, he said it in the group text just 2 days ago. He's like, this is crazy. The happiest, because Stanford is Coach Smith's dream job. He always said that over the last 15 years. And he's like, there's a guy at his dream job. There's a guy resting on top of his national championship trophy. And the happiest of all of us is Magpio at Fordham, because I was FaceTiming with him, showing him the beautiful weather and everybody out on the lawn. So, we speak in analytics, and I do think we have a lot of pride in it, and we really, really, really believe in it. And he still checks every single one of my recruits. And he's making sure. Oh, he's like, this guy better be, aligned with what we our Moneyball approach, our Nerdball approach. It has so many different names.
Yeah.
I absolutely believe it. But there's still a whole nother culture part to it that makes Coach Smith and all of us who work for him makes it work.
Absolutely. And to kind of a little more peek behind the curtain, so non-conference scheduling, obviously for basketball, that's more on you and your staff than for football with an athletic director. When you're and it's early days now, but when you're starting to look around and talk to other coaches and starting to form those games and form that schedule, are you looking to get some big game opportunities and try to maybe sneak a win off a Power 5 or something like that? Or are you looking to maybe teach your team how to win through non-con, so come 2026 and we get into A10 play, we're ready to go?
Yeah, both. I mean, I think that I remember when I walked into Coach Smith's office and I was like, oh, I'm a JV high school basketball coach in 2010. I was trying to, and he's like, yeah, you're a sponge. Like, nobody cares. Like, the only thing that people care about, the two most important things in a basketball program are recruiting and scheduling. And so I was really lucky to get the schedule for him. And we were on the other side. Fordham's kind of like on the top side of scheduling. And I think that early on here, we do have to take the opportunity to, we weren't very good last year. So people are going to schedule us. And we do have to try to figure out how to win first. I do think that's really important. Like it's so hard to win. It's so hard to win. Like, it's such a fine line between winning and losing. And you look at it all the time, and this guy had, look at the last few years, 25-win season, and it's like, what happened? Like, why? How does that happen? And trust me, I try to study it. It keeps me up at night just thinking, like, you don't want to want to let go because, like our Coach Spoelstra, he's great years or something, and one of my mentors, it's hard to win. So you have to learn how to win first. Am I looking at big games? Absolutely. And we'll see if anybody takes a bite. Because I would love to play. And I worship him, but like Rick Pitino, St. John's, I would love to get a chance to do that. I know we played him opening night last year. I would love to play UConn. I would love to play Villanova. Like these would be historic games for us and see what we got. You know what I mean? And of course I do. Scheduling is a two-way street. They're looking at metrics. Is this a quad one opportunity? So those things are going to come into play too. So as we move forward and building the Fordham brand and building, like, we have to start when we get to a place, especially the A10, and we're going to be talking about it next week at the A10 meetings and how to get this conference back to being a multi-bid league. I mean, just 11, 12 years ago, it was 5 bids, 6 bids. And I saw it on the West Coast. The Mountain West did a fantastic job, which is very similar profile to A10 as far as the strength of the teams. They've been getting 3 to 5 teams in the last few years. They've figured it out, and that's through scheduling and whatnot. So there's going to be a point where this year probably have to learn how to win. But there's absolutely going to be a point. And, hey, listen, we have to get in the conversation. And if we're in the conversation, hopefully we're in the conversation for being a bubble team. But, like, you have to learn how to win. And then you do have to schedule to that. You have to start to look at your quad ones, your quad twos, and schedule, give yourself a chance to be an at-large team. That's a little further down the road. This year it's still about building it and learning.
I know especially a lot of the older school fans really like the local rivalries. So maybe a battle of the Bronx with Manhattan or a battle against your buddy at Iona. Are those things that you factor in as well? Yeah,
I think those are both going to happen. Knock on wood. Nothing's official yet, but I do think those are both. I mean, I don't love it, but the last 2 nights I've been with my buddy at Iona. He's come down to Arthur Avenue, and then we were at the Nyack event. And so we're always joking around, the Kevin Hovey, Columbia. We're all joking around with each other. But, you do want to schedule from a position of strength right now. And, again, the number one priority is we have to learn how to win first.
Gotcha. Right.
But I'm all right. When I was here in the East Coast that first 4 years, I thought it was super cool what they did at the Palestra and the Big Six. And I think that'd be incredible, here to do it with Manhattan, Iona, Columbia, St. John's. But, again, like, St. John's the same thing. Like, they're not just saying yes to everybody. They want to schedule from a position of strength, and they're gonna what fits because a loss to any of those teams could eliminate them from the NCAA tournament, so to speak. You know what I mean? Like, everybody's thinking. Of course, it'd be easy to say let's all play each other, which would be great. I think it'd be awesome, and maybe we'll get there.
From not even from a coaching perspective, just like clearly someone that loves the game of basketball, especially the numbers behind it. What is your favorite stat to see in a player that if you see it jump out, like he's head and shoulders above the pack, that maybe not everyone else sees, just for you personally, if you're looking at a scouting report and you see that stat, what jumps out at you the most?
Yeah, I probably the
it's
guy
like picking
that I
your
work
favorite
for.
son.
Yeah, no, I think it's 3-point percentage. I think that's always gonna stick
straight
out
up
to me.
flat
It's
3-point
It's
percentage.
gonna be the first thing. And sometimes, and that's I learned
Tell
that
to the Celtics.
Yeah. All right.
Not
Can
one,
we
but you know
relax?
what? They've also that's why they won championships, right? And we're gonna see what happens here.
All right, we'll
Can
see
they
tomorrow.
shoot?
Sorry about
You're
that,
gonna
Jeff.
see it, right? Like, are they gonna shoot a higher percentage? Because they
Can't go much
live
lower.
it. They can't.
They can't go much lower.
And it's like, but they believe in it, right? Like,
Exactly. They live
Coach
and die
said,
by that
absolutely.
system.
And they've been living, not just, they rarely die.
They've been
Right.
thriving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They look dead the last 2 games.
They
I'll tell
did
you
only
that.
down the stretch, though. You know what I mean?
Well, they
And
go
like
up
you
20
said,
both
I
games,
know.
and then it's just like they don't
It's
know how to.
crazy.
Because when you're up 20, you got to adjust. You got to start
Yeah.
eating and they just. I don't know. That's a whole front. This isn't pick and pot. I can't get into it right now. I'm
Hey,
gonna
listen.
get a hot flash. I'm
No,
gonna
I
have
know.
a panic attack.
That's a tricky one, though. Just kind of going what you're just saying right now. When you're up by 20, like, do you play prevent defense? Like you're just about to. It's not that. It's not. It's easy to say when we're out Sunday, especially when. Like, listen, I'm a fan of the Lakers, and I always tell everybody when I start talking about the Lakers, I'm not a coach. I get irrational. I start saying things, but just like, of course, like you look back, like God, when you blow a lead, you're like, should we have played prevent defense? But then there's times when you go to your like delay game and your whatnot, and then you lose the rhythm of the game, and you lose anyway. So it's such a. That's tough. So you're obviously a Celtics fan.
Yeah, from that, it's tough. I'm kind of. I haven't gotten any Stockholm syndrome from living in the Bronx for 4 years and being a Boston sports fan.
You're surrounded though.
I
You're
am
surrounded
surrounded on all
constantly.
I
sides.
got a little worried for you. You're covering the Knicks this year. You're close
Covering
to
the
them.
Knicks,
I got a
covering
little
the
worried
Knicks.
about you.
It was good, but I was good. I stay on by. I mean, the Knicks, as a Celtics fan, I guess it is Stockholm syndrome. The Knicks are my second favorite team because
that's
I cover them.
Interesting.
I know.
Wow.
And
Tough spot to be
and
in.
it breaks
That's great.
my heart what
That's
they're
weird.
doing to me.
That's
Yeah.
weird.
It breaks my heart.
That's really
Yeah.
weird.
It's weird.
I don't
It's
know
weird.
about
I don't
that.
know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm rooting for the Knicks
I think
just because I'm
an
a Lakers
exception
fan.
to the rule. Yeah. Oh, well, obviously.
Yeah, I can't
there's
have
that.
you
Yeah.
two up on us.
Yeah. Come on now.
I'll close with this. It really stuck out to me from the introductory press conference. I wrote it down. I should underline it. You said, defend, rebound, take care of the ball.
Yeah.
And that was your mantra for the team. And I'm sure a lot of old head Fordham fans absolutely love that. Is that someone we can see in like a T-shirt in the bookstore? Like I think you
Yeah.
could really,
I
market that. It sounds like obviously that's classic New York basketball.
Yeah.
But also, I mean that I'm sure fans are gonna love to see that type of basketball.
Oh, it's just simple. It's nothing tricky. It's defend, rebound, take care of the ball. And even though every single day when we go over our film, it's going to be defend, clips, rebound, clips, take care of the ball, clips. And when we go over our keys for the game, it's going to be defend, keys, rebound, keys. And that was what was really cool about hanging with Florida at the Final Four. It just really confirmed. I got to go to all the practices and shoot-arounds and hang out with my boys and see them operate at a national championship level, which was just mind-blowing for them to get it done. And it was that simple. It was no different than what we've done since over the last 15 years. It was defend, rebound, take care of the ball. Here are the keys. And it was really cool to see him get it done at the highest of levels with just the simplest of ways that we've been preaching the whole time that since we've been at, from those Columbia days where it all started in New York City.
Chaz has got some experience designing shirts. I think you could sell some shirts there, man, with that mantra.
You need
Awesome,
a merch guy.
man.
You need a merch guy. Let me know.
I know. What's going to happen, though, is like
Keep
all
it in
those
the family.
those guys are going to want copyright. Kyle's going to call you, and he's going to be
Yeah.
like, make sure that I
Becomes
get
a
like.
whole thing.
I mean,
um,
if it takes me making a T-shirt to get a call from Kyle Smith, that's totally fine.
Oh, for
with
sure.
me.
You're going to get that call. Trust me.
Fordham men's basketball head coach Mike McPile. Mike, we appreciate you coming into our studio and taking the time to talk with us here.
Awesome,
Really
man.
appreciate it, man.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Signing off, Chaz McAdams, Nick Guzman, Laura Orlando. Have a good one, everybody.
Welcome back to One-on-One, New York's longest-running sports call-in show. George Sfouggatakis, joined by Bradley Birne. And it's time to talk some NBA basketball. Lottery time. So, as most people know, the Dallas Mavericks won the NBA draft lottery, followed by the Spurs, 76ers, Hornets, Jazz, Wizards, Pelicans, Nets, Raptors, Rockets, Trailblazers, Bulls, Hawks, and finally the San Antonio Spurs again, which creates a very interesting dynamic for those top two teams because those teams have been in discussion for trades. Of course, the Mavericks with the big Luka Doncic trade, which brings some speculation to the NBA draft lottery. Was it rigged? Was it not rigged? Seems to be a little bit a little bit of skepticism to the validity of the draft, especially with the Mavs landing with a 1.8% chance to get that first overall pick. But then another trade question: the San Antonio Spurs, do they trade that second overall pick along with rookie breakout Stephon Castle to the Bucks, as well with the 14th overall pick that they received this year, to the Bucks for Giannis? Bradley, opinions?
So we were talking about this in the back a little bit, and in my opinion, I think the Spurs should keep the pick and draft Ace Bailey. Ace Bailey has so much potential. I loved him when he was at Rutgers this past year. He balled out, and the Spurs should not trade for Giannis, because by trading for Giannis, you're kind of like not going all in, but
It's a win now.
You're putting yourself in win now mode. And the Spurs have too much young talent to be in win now mode
They have
now.
a future to develop.
Exactly. Instead of trying to go in win now mode in a very stacked West, build up your young talent, and then you could eventually, be contenders. I think the Spurs are about 2-3 years away from being like actual championship contenders, but
They'll definitely move up from being a bottom 5-10 team.
I wouldn't be
after this
surprised
year.
if they're between the 4 and 6 seed this year, and then but maybe next year we'll see 3 and then 2 and then.
And then eventually contending OKC, who has a future, who also, when you look at the NBA draft order, has the 15th pick as well as the 24th pick. Which do they need more picks?
They don't need those. Like, Sam Presti has to eventually trade all of his picks. You can't take him to the grave with you. You got to eventually trade them. Maybe they go for Kevin Durant. Maybe they go for Giannis.
They're not going to go for KD. I
They
don't
obviously won't.
see
It would
him
be
going for
cool
KD.
just to see KD back in OKC. That'd be
I
really cool to see.
no, that wouldn't, because the league would be doomed.
Well, the Knicks still exist, so
Yep.
don't worry.
As much as I love my
I
Knicks,
know, I'm just
I
kidding.
would die on a hill for the Knicks. If
they
OKC
probably
if
would.
OKC was to pick up Kevin Durant, that would not be it. But you also have to look. The mock drafts have Dylan Harper going second, but I don't see a 3-guard setup for
No.
the Spurs.
You gotta pick
Unless you
Bailey.
expect Chris Paul to come off the bench.
Is Chris Paul retiring soon? If Chris Paul's plans to retire after next season, then maybe you could pick Dylan Harper. But
Pick up
if
Dylan
you're-
Harper and try to run 3 guards.
But if you're but if Chris Paul is like guaranteed to return for maybe a season or two, then I'd pick Ace Bailey.
I'd still pick Ace Bailey, because then you can develop another guard there with next year's picks,
Or you could use pick 14 and just pick a guard.
which is also very true. But Cooper Flag on the Dallas Mavericks. Where would he fit in? Do you think he would try to take a 3-guard position and let a small forward position, let Anthony Davis run the 4 and then a center, or do you think Anthony Davis moves to the center, backs off of the position at the 4, and let Cooper Flag move to a 4?
So my projected starting 5 for Dallas is Kyrie at the 1, Clay at the 2, Cooper Flag at the 3, and then Anthony Davis at the 4. Just because he has said multiple times he doesn't like playing that 5 position, so I think that Jason Kidd is going to put Daniel Gafford at the 5, and then the bench will be Spencer Dinwiddie, Najee Marshall, Max Christie, P.J. Washington, Derek Lively. That's a stacked lineup, fully healthy.
I like that. I like that very much.
I'm not saying they're going to win the championship in the next year or two, because I don't think I don't think this team can win a
I
championship.
think they need a center.
They definitely need.
You can't
a
have
center.
Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively as your 2 centers.
Derek Lively's good.
Derek Lively's good, but he's not.
He's not like
someone,
starter material.
No, definitely not. He's not someone you have a future with.
Yeah, you don't want him being your every day or every other day. center.
100%. And that's where you have to hope Nico Harrison uses his noodle a little bit and makes a move to try to pick up a center from somewhere.
I just hope that Nico Harrison doesn't trade Luka Doncic and Cooper Flag in the same calendar year. I'm not ruling out that possibility. I know they've already said, confirmed that they're picking Cooper Flag at 1, but don't rule it out. Nico's already traded one generational talent. He could possibly trade another.
Derek Harper and VJ Edgecombe, possibly one of the two, possibly a Philadelphia 76er.
I think Philly might trade the pick. Because I know Daryl Morey's open to trading the pick. I think they're going to get a good enough offer. I think there may be a team maybe the Brooklyn Nets use all of those Knicks picks and trade up to get get pick 3, or the Toronto Raptors even. I wouldn't be surprised if Houston, maybe tries.
Houston could make a move with that.
Houston's going to be a team to watch.
Word on
this summer.
the block has been Şengün is on the trading block.
I saw that. If a KD trade is open, they wouldn't I think they should keep Sengun. I think Jalen
I
Green
think
needs to go.
I think Şengün's the future of that team.
I totally agree. If there's one player on the Rockets that they should not trade besides Amen Thompson, is Alperen Sengun.
Even if so, you trade him, man. I'm open to trading Amen Thompson.
No, Amen Thompson has a bright future ahead. I would not trade Amen Thompson.
I see the pure future in Alperen Şengün.
Him and Amen Thompson, though. I think Amen Thompson is going to be fantastic. I was very high on him in the 2023 draft or 2024.
2024. 2023.
2023. Okay, I got mixed up.
Me
but
too.
I genuinely think that the two players that they should be like no trade offers at all are Alperen Sengun and Amen Thompson. Everybody else is open to being traded for Kevin Durant.
And looking at this order, the Wizards are cooked. They're just straight up cooked. There's no other way to put it. They had one of the worst records of all time, and they dropped to the 6th pick.
The Wizards are just, I think they're decades away from the title at this point. I think the Nets
They
have
have
a better chance.
they have absolutely no future, and the Wizards they put all their eggs in one basket into Jordan Poole. He hasn't turned out the way you would hope he would have, and then you now decide to pick up. They picked up Chris Middleton, correct?
Yeah,
They picked up-
traded for.
They traded for Chris Middleton, and this team just isn't what you would expect.
It's just a dumpster fire.
Yeah, you have your starting five is Bub Carrington, Jordan Poole, Justin Champagny, Keyshawn George, and Alex Sarr. Alex Sarr was an interesting pick. I thought he would have had a brighter opportunity and a better opportunity in the league, but he just hasn't turned out the way you would expect.
Yeah, I mean, I thought honestly that before the season, I thought he would be better than Zachary Reese-Shea, but you could make an argument that the second half of the season, Zachary Reese-Shea was probably better than Alex Sarr. I saw this one stat, I believe it was ESPN or something, on how Alex Sarr was really, really bad defensively for a huge stretch of the season or something. So the 2024 draft class was just really, really weird.
You look at this draft. Alex Sarr was the number 2 overall pick, and he averaged 13 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, and a block. And from a number 2 overall pick, you expect a lot more production, especially at a center.
Yeah, I think if we were doing a redraft, I think Stephon Cass would be
Stephen Cass would be the number 1 pick.
And then I guess if the Wizards stay with a forward, I guess maybe Khalil Ware or Jared McCain, number 2.
I agree with that. And then you look at the rest of the draft, you have no first round pick for the New York Knicks.
No, they picked Keyshawn
No,
George.
No. I'm talking about in the 2025 draft. There's no first round pick
2025.
for the New York Knicks.
Well, I guess that's what happens.
That's
when you
right
go all in.
with the Mikal Bridges. Nets have the 8, the 19, the 26, and 27 picks, which is a bright future coming for the Nets. And I think that's gonna do it for our NBA draft lottery segment. After this quick break, it's time to talk some Knicks. That was a good transition.
That was really good transition.
You're listening to WFUV New York.
Welcome back to One on One, New York's longest running sports call-in show. George Sfouggatakis here with Bradley Birne. Time to talk some Knicks, but before we get there, another quick shout out. We do have Yankees tickets available for June 5th, 2025. If you answer this question about the New York Knicks in honor of their Eastern Conference Finals berth, the 1973 NBA Finals was the last time the Knicks won a championship. Who was the NBA Finals MVP? Please call us 718-817-2750. Once again, who was the NBA Finals MVP the last time the Knicks won a championship in 1973? Call us at 718-817-2750. The game is on June 5th, 2025 at 7:05 p.m. Yanks Guardians at Yankee Stadium. Moving on to the 2025 Knicks. Eastern Conference Finals. For the first time in 20 years, the Knicks, 25 years, the Knicks are in the Eastern Conference Finals, defeating Boston by 38. 38 points is the largest gap in New York Knicks playoff history. We're there. We're there. Indiana's coming. We have home court advantage. Game 1 Wednesday at the Garden. 7th Avenue is going to be jumping. 4 wins away from the NBA Finals, Bradley.
It's just like doesn't. First off, I had to represent with the playoff shirt. Game
Love
1
it.
against
Love
the Pistons,
it.
and then obviously the hat. Man, it just still doesn't feel real. That like if you told me before the season started that the Knicks would defeat the Boston Celtics in 6 games and make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, half of that I would say you're crazy. I didn't think before the season started they could beat the Boston Celtics, but now I'm on like a whole new like level. Like it's just like I've never had this feeling before with any of my sports teams in my 19 years of existence. It doesn't feel like this thing's gonna end without a championship. Like I've never like had this feeling where it's just like, man, my team could really go all the way and finally bring home a championship. And I felt that with this team from the moment the playoffs started in Madison Square Garden, Game 1 against the Pistons. I just had this feeling like I think this might be the year. And I know we say that New York sports fans say that every year.
Every year for every team.
But it just like it really does feel like this could be the year that New York sports finally sees a championship.
If you told me that the Knicks were going to beat the Boston Celtics by 38 in Game 6 of the Eastern Conference semifinals after losing by 23 and the Celtics hitting the most threes all time, Game 1, Tuesday, October 22nd, 2024, I would tell you you're insane, told you get checked into a mental hospital and lock yourself in a white room with no windows. But now it's real. Very real. The Knicks are here. They're here to stay. Big-time production from Jalen Brunson, as always. Big-time production from OG Anunoby, giving us 23. Cat with 12 rebounds. Josh Hart, 11 assists. We're a legit team. We have a chance at the finals. We have a chance to make the finals. We're going to beat Indiana in 6, Indiana in 5. They're not going anywhere. They're going to give us a hard time, but we're tougher, more grit. Mikal Bridges gave us 22 last night. 4 of our 5 starters in over 20 points. 119-81. We held Boston to 81 points.
Think about it. They basically scored 2 points a minute, which is kind of crazy if you think about it. Like that's how bad Boston was yesterday. And I think Boston. I know I said this about the Spurs. They're going to be the team to watch in terms of like the draft, but I think in terms of like free agency and like what happens with like a team, the Boston Celtics are probably at the top of that list, just below the Bucks and Giannis, because obviously with 5 guys in this team making over $28 million, 2 of these guys are going to have to go. I think it's going to be Jrue Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis. There was just a report earlier by Bleacher Report that Jrue Holiday is showing interest from several teams, but I think it's going to be Jrue Holiday and Porzingis that are going to be traded.
I'm going to stop you there, Bradley. We have a call. Call in. Lewis from Westchester. I can only imagine who this is.
How you doing, guys?
What's up, Lewis?
Great show. I had a question for both of you as diehard Knicks fans.
Ask away.
How are you guys going to do against the Pacers in this coming up series on Wednesday?
You're going to throw OG Anunoby on Pascal Siakam. You're going to throw Mikal Bridges on Tyrese Halliburton, and then you're going to pray Andrew Nembhard doesn't turn into Steph Curry like he did last year, and that's how it's going to be. You have Kat and Mitchell Robinson guarding Miles Turner, and then after that, just barbecue chicken for us. They aren't a strong defensive team. We're 10 times better on offense than they are on defense. It's 1, 2, 3, bing bang boom.
Who's JB going to guard, though?
JB is going to guard Andrew Nemhard and or Benedict Mathurin and pray that they don't drop 30.
And are you putting OG on Tyrese?
You're putting OG on Pascal Siakam.
Ooh, then was Mikal going on Tyrese?
Mikal Bridges is going to guard Tyrese
Mikal
Halliburton,
can guard Tyrese.
which isn't crazy. Mikal Bridges has a longer wingspan. He's a more stretchy player, and I think he can have a equal first step to Tyrese Halliburton, which is where Tyrese Halliburton's most explosive. So
what about that
first
Cat
step,
and Miles Turner matchup?
the Cat and Miles Turner matchup is going to be interesting because you're going to have a lot of substitution there. You're going to need to get Mitchell Robinson in more to guard Miles Turner, which is where I see that's going to be the biggest difference.
And Miles Turner can't guard Cat either.
Yeah, Miles Turner can't guard Cat.
Let's just be honest.
Miles Turner is equivalent on defense as Cat, except just a little bit taller, providing more blocks. But on the perimeter, it's light work there.
All right, it's good to hear you guys. Thanks for taking my call. Shout out to George. You've been doing great. The Hard Rock himself. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Lewis, caller from Westchester. WFUV, Lewis Andrade.
WFUV zone.
Good to hear from him. But moving on to the Indiana series. Indiana's been scary. I'm going to be completely honest. They have been a little
Are we
terrifying.
being serious? Indiana's not really all that. I was more scared of Boston than Indiana. To be quite
I
honest.
agree fully. I was definitely more scared of Boston, but after watching them beat up on, even though they were injured, the Cavs, they beat up on the Cavs.
Well, the Cavs are. I've been saying this. The Cavs are a regular season team.
I said that too, 100%.
I don't get why Donovan Mitchell does not get enough criticism. We criticize him.
Criticism.
Listen, hear me out. We criticize Embiid for never making a conference final, but look at Donovan Mitchell.
Donovan Mitchell's there the same supporting cast. Donovan Mitchell. I love Donovan Mitchell with everything.
Donovan Mitchell had the. Okay, hear me out. 8 years in a row.
They were hurt. They were hurt for 2 games. Mobley and Garland were hurt for 2 games. No DeAndre Hunter. You want Ty Jerome playing 35 minutes?
Can you let me finish, please? Okay, so 8 years in a row, Donovan Mitchell has been sent home before a conference final. He had Rudy Gobert, and he didn't do anything. Then he has Defensive Player of the Year.
They weren't the same. They weren't.
I know they weren't the same.
The
It was
Jazz
a bubble,
team wasn't the same.
But Donovan Mitchell, it just proves that he can't just lead a team to I don't think he'll ever lead a team to a conference final.
You want to hear the starting 5? Please hear the starting 5.
The thing is that starting 5 is so talented. It's just they couldn't do anything.
Game 2. Dean Wade, Jared Allen, Donovan Mitchell, Ty Jerome, and Max Strus. You want Dean Wade, Max Strus, and Ty Jerome playing an average of 35 minutes a night in the playoffs? You got Dean Wade as your starting point guard?
Buddy, you remember the
Dean Wade.
You remember the
Dean Wade. That sounds like Wish.com Dwayne Wade.
You remember the 2023 playoffs when that team was fully healthy and they lost to Knicks in 5 games with Mitchell Robinson.
100%.
Mitchell Robinson was outplaying their entire team.
It's different. It was a different beast.
It's the same team.
It was their first year to get in that moment, in that setup. It was just different. It was a different situation last year. They weren't the number 2 team in the league last year. They were not.
That's true, but they were 2023.
They didn't have that. They didn't have enough playoff experience yet. That was
the Knicks. That was Jalen Brunson's first year.
Jalen Brunson has been a playoff demon his whole career. Jalen Brunson has been a playoff demon.
I know, but I'm just saying that was his
career.
first year in New York.
100%.
When the expectations were high.
You don't compare Jalen Brunson to Donovan Mitchell. That's just back to Jalen Brunson.
Okay, yeah, that's true. But I'm just saying, in terms of 2023,
complete different beast. It was a different beast. You have to look at this cast. Dean Wade, Max Strus in the big 2025 playing 39 minutes. 39 minutes.
You're ignoring Jared Allen, Evan Mobley,
Donovan
and
Mitchell
Jerry
put up 48 in game 2. He
It is
put up
okay.
48.
But it's just the way the Cavaliers play basketball. It's like the Boston Celtics. It just annoys me. Evan Mobley and Jared Allen play basketball so soft. It's just Jared Allen is too nice. He has to stop passing the ball. Impose your will on the opponent's center and dunk the ball a couple of times. And Evan Mobley lives at the 3-point line.
Which is horrible.
It is horrible. I think if Mitchell Robinson was living at the 3-point line, Thibodeau would be playing him 45 minutes just to punish him.
If I was coaching and Mitch was playing at the 3-point line, I would plop him on the bench and never make him get and have him sit there for the rest of the season.
No,
Anyways,
exactly.
the one game that they did win of that series, they had their entire starting five. Donovan Mitchell had to put up 43, and they won by 22. But then you look at the other games where they were hurt. They were coming off of injury. Game one was an interesting game. They lost by 9. They had they didn't have Darius Garland. They didn't have Darius Garland, and they lost by 9. They had Sam Merrill start and play 18 minutes. It's a bad day when Sam Merrill is playing 18 minutes.
I just feel so bad for Max Schuster, especially with that whole text message thing. That thing got blown up on social media. I just feel so bad for him.
You have to look at the series. The series was a quasi Mickey Mouse series because the Cavs didn't have their entire unit, and they had their entire unit, and they won. They lost game 2 by 1 point without their entire unit.
I still think the Cavs fully healthy wouldn't beat the Pacers.
I disagree.
I think Pacers would win that series in 7 games.
Right now, the best team on earth right now is the New York Knicks.
Well, obviously, yeah.
The best team on earth is New York. They have the most momentum going into this. They have the biggest city, best city in the entire world behind them. They're better than the Pacers.
I agree.
They would have beaten the Cavs.
I think the Knicks would beat the Cavs.
They can beat anyone right now.
Except OKC.
No.
Oh, we're just talking about East?
No.
Do not say Minnesota. I will take this heads up right now.
I think we can beat OKC.
Oh, okay. I think you say Minnesota
we
could
can
beat New York.
I think we could beat OKC in 6. I think we beat them in 7.
I think that's 7 games because SJ might have those 2 games where he just gets these 29 different phantom calls and just foul baits the entire game. So you gotta also take that into account.
I think let's touch on the West right now for a little bit. We should look at the OKC and Denver series because that game is tomorrow. Exciting game, big game. It's not going to be the same game though. The Nuggets are likely to miss Aaron Gordon, which brings a lot of worry, with a hamstring strain, and the Nuggets are going to be relying too strongly on Nikola Jokic.
It's just
The MVP, by the way, who should be the MVP.
100%. I know Angel Ducret's not gonna like that. but
Angel's not gonna like that one.
I
Shout out
guess-
Angel graduating right now.
Congratulations, Angel. But I mean, what I honestly think, I was actually watching Get Up the other day, and Mike Greenberg proposed this, and I actually agree with it. Put the MVP at the scores table. Winner gets MVP. I'm not mad at that.
I like that.
But even though I still think Jokic should win it,
Jokic should win it.
he should win it. It's
But,
just
but the NBA likes to do this thing where they put the best player on the best team wins the MVP, which I disagree with strongly.
I disagree. Jokic was never going to win this MVP. He could average 100 points, 100 rebounds, 100 assists. He was never winning the MVP this year. It was going to SGA before the season really even started, in my opinion.
I disagree. I thought first week of the series I was Donovan Mitchell.
Well, yeah, but then reality set in.
Yeah, and the Cavs started to lose a couple games, and then now you look at OKC, best team in the league. They're supposed to win it all.
It's a disappointment. It's either championship or bust this year for OKC. And that might be a hot take,
I disagree. They have a future.
but you have one of the greatest defensive seasons in modern NBA history, and I think the largest. I believe they had the largest point differential in NBA history this year. I think it was 22 points a game or something like that. But I think even though OKC has a really bright future, this year is championship or it's a failure of a season. And you can make the same argument.
Failure, yes, but that doesn't mean to bust. They're not blowing up the team after this
Oh
year.
yeah, well okay, I misworded. I meant like a failure. Like if it's a failure,
for sure.
I think for OKC, and you can make the argument in New York. I will make the argument.
It's also a failure for Boston, by the way. Not even making
and
the
now
Eastern
they're
Conference Finals, coming off of a chip, not even making the Eastern Conference Finals.
I think that Boston ring was more fraudulent than the Mickey Mouse.
Mickey Mouse ring. That Boston ring is equivalent to the Lakers ring in the bubble. Frauds. Knicks would have
I hope you
swept
see
them.
this, Chaz. I think the Lakers
Yeah.
bubble.
Chaz
I know.
somewhere out there is gonna see this. He's gonna see the featured segment. We're looking at you, Chaz.
The Celtics ring was more
Frauds.
fraudulent than the bubble.
100%. On the topic of the Celtics, again, I know we're bouncing all over the place.
Yeah.
But on the topic of the Celtics, Kristaps Porzingis was trying to entice the Knicks into picking him up with the press conference last year. He said he felt some love at the Garden. Said he loves the way that the Knicks fans rally behind their players. He showed a lot of love, which leads one to believe is that his little proposition to possibly coming back.
I don't want him
You don't want him?
because here's the thing. No, listen, hear me out.
I would love KP off the bench.
First off, $28 million is going to be a lot for this team to handle, unless Mikal Bridges and I think Carlton Towns also veteran eligible this summer. If they take that veteran discount, I won't be mad at it. But I don't think the Knicks should do anything this summer. They have
I don't know
blown
about
away
that.
expectations.
I don't know about that. I think
Maybe add
we
some
make a
bench
couple.
pieces.
Add a couple bench pieces.
Get rid of Landry Shamet, please.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Landry Shamet does not go anywhere.
You got to get rid of Landry
Landry Shamet is my favorite player on this team right now. He is not going anywhere.
No, you got to.
Over my dead body is Landry Shamet leaving this team.
You got to get players that Thibodeau will play in the regular season.
Thibodeau played him in the regular season.
For what, 8
He
minutes
dropped
a game?
30 against the Nets.
'Cause he played-
30.
Yeah, he played 30 minutes. Obviously, he's going to drop 30.
Exactly. If you give him minutes, he's going to give you 30.
He's not going to get 30 minutes though every
but
game.
you give him 20 minutes, he's going to give you 15.
No way Landry
He'll give you-
Shamet will
give you
ever get
18.
20 minutes again. I'd rather have Tyler Kolek than Landry Shamet.
Absolutely not. Landry Shamet
Tyler
for mayor.
Kolek is going to be really, really good. When
Landry
he actually
Shamet
got
for mayor.
good minutes,
Give Landry Shamet the key to the city. He can run the city for me.
Landry Shamet. Oh wow, he averaged 15 minutes a game this year. Okay,
That's what I'm saying.
I did not know Landry Shamet was getting that many minutes.
Production. Landry Shamet is the mayor of New York. I would give him the key to the city. But let's look at the Western Conference Finals now. We have a couple of minutes left in this segment. Let's talk Western Conference Finals.
It's Timberwolves. You don't even have to. We don't have to make this really.
It's the Wolves. The Wolves play. If the Wolves play the Thunder,
That's Timberwolves in 6.
you think Wolves in 6?
Because the Timberwolves have had OKC's number this year, and I think that's going to continue into.
And I think with playoff Julius Randle, I could have a whole 3-hour show just on how much I dislike Julius Randle. But playoff
Okay.
Julius Randle currently, he's balling out. He's been a stud. He's been otherworldly for this Wolves team. He's been putting up 30 points like it's nothing. He had his first playoff triple double a couple nights ago. I think it was game 6 against the Warriors. He had his first playoff triple double where he put up 29 points. Oh, it was game 5 then. 29 points. Game 6 he had 29 points, 8 rebounds and 5 assists with a plus-minus of +4, which was enough to knock off the Warriors. And I feel that this Julius Randle that we're seeing is not the Julius Randle that was on the Knicks.
No, I'm telling you, his 3 of 17 games are going to happen, whether it's next series in the conference finals or it's in the finals against the Knicks. It's going to happen. He's going to shoot 3 of 17 from the field and have, 5 points? Like, in that elimination game,
Like a
game
common,
6.
like what he used to do with the Knicks.
Exactly. In 2023 playoffs, when game 6, Brunson dropped 41 that game, Julius Randle and RJ Barrett, they were like Casper the Ghost, nowhere to be found. And I'm telling you, the Julius Randle 3 of 17 games are going to happen. And when it happens, I'm going to say I told you so.
100% no. I've disliked Julius Randle since he set foot in a Knicks uniform, and I watched him not hustle back on defense. I've strongly disliked everything about his game. He's a shoot first, ask questions later player, and that's not something I see.
But shout out Dante DiVincenzo.
shout out Dante DiVincenzo.
There's rumors that the Knicks are going to try to get him back. Please, I really wish that the Knicks traded Deuce McBride instead of Dante DiVincenzo.
Absolutely not. Don't. Deuce is a core part of this team.
Deuce is really good on defense, but I think offense wise, I'd rather have Dante. I know you're a defensive guy, so that's why
my basketball brain is stuck in the 90s.
I'm just so Villanova biased. I really wish we kept Dante.
Ave Moose Papam. The Pope is a Knicks fan.
Yes, sir.
I love seeing those memes online.
Yeah, me too. It's like both went to Chicago High School, both went to Villanova, both are the leader of a team. The Catholics.
Catholic Church, biggest team in the world.
Yep.
No other team has 1 billion people in it.
That's true.
But the Knicks have game 1 Wednesday 7:30. Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals following tomorrow's Game 7 decider is Tuesday at 8 p.m. And predictions. Tomorrow's Game 7. What do you got?
If somehow Aaron Gordon miraculously decides to play, I don't know if he's been officially ruled out yet, but if he does play tomorrow, it's Denver is winning that game. But if he
Do you
doesn't,
think Denver's going to win even if Aaron Gordon's playing on limited minutes?
I think so. Just so Aaron Gordon, even if he hits a couple of big buckets, I do think that Denver will take this game. But if he's not playing, then Denver can kiss their season goodbye, I guess.
I happen to agree. As a Knicks fan, I want Denver to win because I want the Timberwolves to just have a little waltz to the final.
I want home court advantage in the finals as well.
100% home court in the finals. I would sell my house. I would sell a kidney just to get in the house for that game. But game one at the Garden in the NBA Finals would be electric. And now we're going to kick it to sports director Bobby Chaffardini for a little Indian 60 break.
Indy in 60. Alex Palou stayed red hot in the IndyCar series like record-setting Fuego. It was the Spaniard's third consecutive victory in the Sanzio Grand Prix, an event record. The reigning IndyCar champion became the first driver since Sebastian Bourdais in 2006 to win 4 of the first 5 races of an IndyCar season. Palou outpaced Pato O'Ward to collect another victory. The only prize missing from his resume is the elusive Indy 500 win. He'll have his shot before the month is up.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy. It's I'm sad that it's gonna end at some point, and it's gonna be tough in my career to feel as good as I feel now, and I know that, and that makes me sad but happy at the same time. So it's amazing. It's amazing. I think I know I'm with the best team out here, and they give me the best tools I have, the best people to train, fight for races every single weekend, and feel sweet.
Palou mastered the road course, but now comes the oval, the big one. Indy 500 qualifying is on tap. Positions 13 through 30 for the May 25th race will be determined today, while the top 12 spots and positions 31 through 33 will be determined tomorrow on Sunday. One of the 34 entries will fail to make the race on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway's 2.5-mile oval. 5-time pole sitter Scott Dixon had the fastest 4-lap qualifying on Fast Friday yesterday at 232.366 miles per hour. Dixon was followed closely by IndyCar points leader and teammate Alex Palou, who we just mentioned, while Team Penske's Scott McLaughlin, last year's pole sitter, had the best single lap at 233.954. Oh boy, 233 miles per hour. Hard to believe, gentlemen, but the 109th Indianapolis 500 presented by Gamebridge just about a week away. That's your Indian 60 update. I'm Bobby C. Great show so far. Excited for you guys. I know you love talking basketball.
Welcome back to One-on-One, New York's longest-running sports call-in show, joined by Bradley Birne and Bobby C. Bobby C is back in the studio with us, and we're going to talk some baseball. We got the A's, the Orioles, Jacob deGrom, and let's start off with Pete Rose and Shoeless Joe Jackson, who are now eligible for Hall of Fame considerations after new rulings on the gambling ethics of Major League Baseball. Guys, what do you have to say about it?
Well, I mean, first off, obviously a big Pete Rose fan, and was sad to see that he had passed. And he was always so great with our reporters when we'd be in Cooperstown every year. In fact, we got to interview him this past summer. So, sad that he had passed away, but I think it's exciting for his family
that this might finally be an opportunity for him to get into the Hall of Fame. And he had actually said, I think it was literally like only maybe a week or two before he passed, that he thought that he would get into the Hall of Fame after he died. As a longtime baseball fan, George and Bradley, I think the only thing you would say is that some of those sins committed by Pete Rose, Joe Jackson, they are hard to forgive. Gambling and manipulating the sport and taking away some of that integrity is, of course, damaging to America's pastime. So, the problem is that you have to decide whether or not second chances are a good thing, right? Like an okay thing. I'm sure that when it comes to someone like Pete Rose, the big problem with him was that for so many years he lied about gambling on baseball.
That's where the ethics is like, that's where I see the biggest sin, especially with the way betting is nowadays, where everything revolves around.
But that
betting.
changes it too, right? Like the gambling has changed.
I disagree with that. I understand how betting is now a part of every game, which is something I'm staunchly against. But I see how it's a part of every game, but that doesn't make it illegal. But that doesn't make it
right. Yeah,
for
of
sure.
course.
Especially when it was illegal at the time and sports betting was gravely frowned upon at the time.
100%. And that was Joe Jackson's era too, right?
Exactly, Joe Jackson, which is a completely different can of worms because he rigged his own games, which is where
allegedly, again, the 8 men out story, right? Like he was one of the players, allegedly that had done that through the World Series in 1919, the Black Sox scandal.
Yeah, the Black Sox scandal, which is something I heard from my uncle who told me about how he perceived the issues. It was before his time.
But we would have to have Tucker look it up. But I think Jackson in that World Series, he was the highest batting average. I think he batted like 375 in that series. So a lot of people say that he may have taken the money but didn't take the dive, which is something that's mentioned in the book and also in the film. But anyway, again, he was part of something that may have damaged the game.
100%. And even if so, the ruling that they are able to be into the Hall of Fame now.
Oh, look at that. Did you get to hear that on the air?
I wasn't able to
I was
catch it.
right, 375. My baseball knowledge still on tap, guys. I might be the old guy here in the room, but Joe Jackson, again, that's a great read, too.
Yeah.
8 men out.
100%. But I believe that they are pioneers of the game and some of the best to ever do it. But I understand why Major League Baseball is reinstating them, but I don't fully agree with it.
Yeah, I could see that. Listen, too, this is just my take, right? Whether it's a hot take or not. There's no doubt that Pete Rose as a baseball player is a Hall of Fame.
100%.
Like,
one of,
you
if not
take
the best
away
hitters to ever do it.
the scandal, he is a first ballot Hall of Famer. All-time hits leader, one of the greatest players of all time. Same thing with Joe Jackson. Joe Jackson, without the scandal, is a first ballot Hall of Famer.
1,000%.
The problem is they got caught, right? So, and then in the case of Pete Rose, not only did he get caught, but he denied it for over 20 years and then finally came clean and then, basically kind of lived out the rest of his career sort of kind of making a mockery of it, right? Like he would sign autographs, I bet on baseball, and just a beloved figure. But the ethics of the game are so that you have other players that are in the Hall of Fame that have committed, we'll use the word sins again, right? But the difference is some of those sins did not directly affect the sport, right? Like it could have been like, Orlando Cepeda is a Hall of Famer and, he was busted in a drug ring where he sold drugs.
And which then you look at things like NFL Hall of Fame, where they have convicted
felons,
yeah, in the Hall of Fame, which is much greater of a sin than betting on baseball.
Well, unless you're in the case of Rose, right? He was the manager, so some people say that he threw games. It changed the lineups or brought in pitchers that could have affected the outcome of games.
100%, but I still believe that it's like betting is such a different
I agree
type of culture now. Now you have people betting on games in every state across the
and it wasn't though when
exactly
Rose played or when he managed. Yeah,
and it's a sticky situation. And like hypothetical question for you,
Yeah.
Bobby and Bradley. If baseball suddenly made steroids legal, you think Barry Bonds and that whole Mitchell report and Canseco, McGuire, Sosa, you think they should all get in?
I think me personally, I've said this a lot. I don't care about this. I think Barry Bonds is the greatest baseball player to ever
I've
play.
ever seen.
Like, because everybody did him. It was literally called the steroid era for a reason. So
But if
and
you
there
say
are
that,
s-
I'm gonna use like the thing that the parents use all the time. If your friends jump off a bridge, would you jump with them?
okay, you have a
Yeah,
point
we don't
there.
know if it's every single person. I mean,
Well,
the estimate usually is like 80-85%, but we'll say
Yeah.
a majority, an overwhelming majority, use steroids during that era.
Yeah, and I'm sure that there are players like I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but I'm sure that there are certain players in the Hall of Fame
I think so.
that have used steroids, and I'm sure the
I
MLB might
agree.
even know about it and just choose not to take them out. So either you
Well, they
let
didn't get caught.
exactly, so either you let everybody in or you let nobody in. That's how I think it should be. You shouldn't be letting some players in who allegedly, I don't want to say that they did it, took steroids and are in the Hall of Fame, but then
What about like the perjury with Bonds?
I don't know. I just think that and then they use Barry Bonds as a scapegoat
100%.
for the whole
Definitely,
him
because
Mark
And
It's
Clemens
it's
too.
because
and
he
Roger
was
Clemens.
it's because those two were some of, if not the best at their craft.
I think Barry Bonds is the greatest hitter, regardless. of
I
what
have a different opinion on that, but I agree. Barry Bonds, one of the best hitters. You can't steroids don't fix your timing, and
They do enhance performance,
If you
though.
remove his MVP seasons, though, he still had 440 home runs and 365
It's
stolen
such-
bases, which is still a Hall of Fame career
It's
without his
such a tough conversation.
MVP seasons. He won 4 straight MVPs. Like, steroids are not. I personally don't care about the steroids because although 85% of the league did obviously
Maybe.
supposedly use steroids, I just think either you punish everybody and
or
you let
or
nobody
you
in the
punish
Hall
no
of
one.
or you punish no one exactly. So
But see, Bradley, the problem is you won't know like who
And-
did and who didn't. You kind of speculate based on
and that's the
Mitchell
unfortunate
report,
part
or
about it.
it's just such a tough conversation. And again, are you comparing apples to apples, or the gambling and
The gambling and
and the
steroids are two
steroids.
completely different
Yeah.
can of worms.
Like I still think Pete Rose should have also been in the Hall of Fame. I try to separate the player from the person.
Similar with what they
Like-
do in the NFL.
Like obviously Pete Rose as a person was very questionable, but as a player, what he did
On the field
was
was
on the
insane.
field was completely different. Like I think the MLB just has a problem with trying to separate the player from the person. That's how I think
That's a great
the
point.
Hall of Fame
It's,
should
it's,
be.
it's because they look at baseball as more of a character game and like
But
the
I think
like the,
me personally, I think the Hall of Fame should be based on the player, not the person.
I agree
Well,
to an extent.
How about this though? Like this is something I've always said. Again, we go every summer for the inductions, and student reporters get a chance to be at the Hall of Fame and cover it. And I've always said that the Hall of Fame really, in essence, is a museum, right? Like
Yeah,
that's what it
very
is.
much is.
right?
I've been there. It's a fantastic place. I love I love Cooperstown. Great city, great little town. And
But,
it
like,
just
if you
eats,
were-
sleeps, breathes baseball.
Yeah, of course. But if you were going to, let's say, someday, hopefully, you both have families and you have children, and you were going to tell them the stories of the game, do you omit the negative part of things,
Of course not.
or
You-
do
you-
you,
you
or
get
do
the-
you
get the good, the
include
bad,
it,
and the ugly.
right? Like a museum tells you the entire, or
Yeah.
should tell you the entire story of the game.
You omit nothing.
Now,
you gotta tell everything.
The question is whether or not the enshrinement part of it means that those players get the flowers, the accolades of being like inducted into the Hall of Fame. But and some people have said that, right? Like Pete Rose's stuff is in the Hall of Fame. Barry Bonds' stuff, let's say hats, cleats, bats, balls, whatever,
Autographs,
achievements,
everything, yeah.
autographs. That stuff is there for you to see, and it's part of the story. But the enshrinement allows them to come back and then get the flowers that comes with being like, hey, they're a Hall of Famer. They're also going to make money from that too, right? Like, now they signed Barry Bonds Hall of Famer class of 2025, whatever. But to me, the reality of it is sometimes it's like baseball now doesn't want to almost like turn its back on an era, and that's tough to do, right? Like it happened. The era happened. It might have been the greatest baseball that we've ever seen. I know for you guys, some of it's before you were
Yeah.
even born.
Definitely.
But, I mean, that was like video game stuff back then.
Yeah, for sure. And I think let's move on from the past. Let's look at the present. Let's talk about the Oakland A's. In the Sacramento A's, the Sacramento A's, who are having a interesting season. They have some of the best hitters in the league, but they're struggling to win games. Like, I'm just confused with where this team is going. because they have some of the best hitters. They have Shea Langoliers, Brent Rooker, Tyler Soderstrom, who are all playing great baseball, but they're currently 4th in the AL West, and I just don't know where this team is looking to go.
Sorry. To be honest, the A's are just like before the season started, I was like the A's could be that sneaky team where it's like they like if a team needs to get to like the postseason, they need like 1 or 2 games to win. The A's could be a season buster where it's like they just miraculously go crazy and they end up eliminating a team like how like the Mets and Braves, they played each other and the Diamondbacks ended up missing the playoffs. I feel like the A's can maybe be that sneaky team in like September where a team needs to get like winning in and the A's just I guess end your season,
Yeah, they're an odd team. They have some of the highest batting averages in the they have some of the players with the highest batting average in the league. Jacob Wilson's 4th in the league, batting .351.
Stud.
He has an odd stance too. Like there's a little toe tap before, and then he goes right into his stance.
Whatever works, man.
Yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. They have players like Tyler Soderstrom who has 10 home runs, some of the most in the league. They can't
Yeah, but
win
George,
the games.
it's not just about offense, right? Like
100%,
baseball is a sport where everybody has to chip in.
Definitely,
Teamwork to
their
make the dream work.
Their pitching is where the real issue is. Their starters aren't great. They have Luis Severino as their number 1 starter, and in 2025,
Mets legend Luis Severino.
And in 2025, you don't want Luis Severino as your number 1 starter by any means.
Yeah, but they can't get players to sign there. I mean, right now they're playing in a minor league complex, right? Like it's tough to get free agents.
Yeah, and but then you look at players like Mason Miller, absolute stud, one of the best relievers in baseball. He's there to close out games. He should have left when he had the opportunity.
Well, maybe. It seems like he really loves playing for the Athletics, though.
Yeah, because I see this team has a future, but they're struggling. And on the topic of struggling, the Baltimore Orioles, that's a struggle. They had one of the best records in the league last year, and now they just took a complete nosedive.
Baseball talent sometimes does not year to year always translate, right? Like someone could be really good for a stretch and then all of a sudden disappear.
Someone who's really good for a stretch disappeared and came back is Jacob deGrom.
Yeah. Well,
I'm
how about
so
Gleyber
glad
Torres with the Tigers?
Gleyber Torres with the Tigers. It's
Javi Baez coming back too. Javi Baez looks like a real baseball player now.
Yeah, and you mentioned pre-show that he was traded with the Pico Armstrong trade, who's also
that kid's killing it.
He's so good. Pete Armstrong.
The Mets are going to regret that one.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think they probably regret it now, to be honest, especially now that the Cubs are the 3 seed in the NL and first in the NL Central.
Yeah, the Cubs are a scary team. That's a team I mentioned preseason. I wanted to look out for them when September October comes around, because they're a team full of studs and they're hungry.
Mm-hmm.
They're a team who's hungry. They have a great 1 through 9 lineup. I love Kyle Tucker. Love them.
Tucker's so good too.
Beautiful lefty, beautiful lefty
Tucker.
swing. Ian Happ, also a fantastic baseball player. He's been sneaky good for like the past 4 or 5 seasons.
Yeah.
I think he was.
Well, while the Cubs were struggling, he was performing well.
Yeah, very much so. And then Michael Busch is he's a solid first baseman. He was on the White Sox, I believe, a couple seasons ago. He was with the White Sox. Oh, he was with the Dodgers. The Dodgers, where he played a little bit there and then came to the Cubs and started balling out. The Cubs are a very good team, and then you look on the other side. The White Sox are struggling still.
Yeah,
still struggling, but not.
Not as bad as the Rockies, right?
7 wins.
That might be the worst team of all time by the time it's all said and done.
Back-to-back worst seasons of all time.
Maybe.
Could happen.
Could happen. But I want to focus on Jacob deGrom. Jacob deGrom is having a little bit of deja vu. We've been here before. Jacob deGrom putting up insane stats.
No doubt about his talent. It was hurt.
Yeah, if you told me that going to the season, Jacob deGrom would have a sub 2.3 ERA with 53 strikeouts and 51 innings pitched already, I kind of think you're crazy. I'm just so glad that Jacob deGrom is finally healthy. I had season tickets back in 2018. That prime Jacob deGrom year was like some of the best baseball I've probably ever witnessed my entire life. Him and Noah Syndergaard. I know Mets fans have very mixed feelings on Noah Syndergaard, but just seeing him and Jacob deGrom, oh my goodness, that was.
This might be another Tucker ass to look up, but I'm almost positive that in Jacob deGrom's MLB debut, he threw a gem and lost to the Yankees 1-0. That vividly comes up as a memory.
That sounds like the Mets
It
of that
sounds
time.
like a Mets moment of that time, that DeGrom would throw this incredible start, hurl, pitch, however you want to phrase, and lose to the Yankees 1-0.
Yeah,
you're right.
am
Lost
I
the
right?
Yankees 1-0. He pitched 7 innings, gave up 1 earned run, struck out 6, and they lost
To
1-0.
the Yankees.
Yep.
Yeah, that sounds like Jacob DeGrom. Never got any run support from the Mets.
Yes,
No.
but you look at the stats this season: 9 starts with a 2.29 ERA, sub 1 WHIP, 53 strikeouts, 11 walks, 4 strikeouts to walk ratio, only 39 hits and 13 earned runs in 9 starts in 51 innings.
I mean, I think he's a Hall of Famer.
I agree.
I mean, he still has a little bit maybe to go. I mean, it would be great if he could win a World Series, but I think he's a Hall of Famer.
The Rangers team is just so, like, they're just not. They had the World Series hangover last year, and I think it's. I don't see them winning the World
And
Series.
you got to remember, nowadays, guys are probably not going to win 300 games. That might not happen, and also that stat is kind of not as important as it used to be for some reason. Even though I think it should be.
Wins and losses are not the same as it was, and that will lead us to a break. Quick break. Coming back, we're going to talk Subway Series and some Juan Soto.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Enjoy, Bobby. Welcome back to One-on-One, New York's longest-running sports call-in show. And George Sfouggatakis here at Bradley Birne. Time to talk some Mets versus Yankees Subway Series. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, primetime baseball. Game 1 went to the Yanks happily with a nice, standing, loud ovation of boos to Juan Soto. Bradley, did you? I heard you mentioned earlier you didn't really watch the game. I was actually in the Hard Rock Cafe working during this game, and it was a madhouse. Yankee Stadium, Bronx Zoo. It's a jungle in there. A lot of Mets fans made the trek up to the Bronx just to watch their team get absolutely obliterated.
Okay, well, first off, the offense really hasn't gotten going yet.
Excuses.
It's really not excuses. I still think the Mets are going to take the Mets are going to take this game right now, and then going to take the next one tomorrow.
Yeah, game 2 starts 20 minutes, 1:05 p.m. in the Bronx.
But once the offense gets going, I think the pitching will be sustainable. I think the pitching has so much momentum right now. I don't see the pitching really slowing down. But once the offense for the Mets gets going, I'm telling you, it's game over for not just the NL, but just for the rest of the MLB.
It's the pitching has been surprisingly very positive for the Mets.
I'm shocked. Like, if you told me before the C-Star that the Mets would have the second lowest bullpen ERA and the third lowest ERA in the majors in middle of May, I would think that you were a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, but I am genuinely shocked. Shout out to Kodai Senga for finally getting some good, healthy games in. I've been very high on Kodai Senga, and I'm finally glad that he's actually healthy for once. And Griffin Canning, too, who's actually the probable pitcher today for the Mets, and for the Yankees, we have Clark Schmidt.
Who is a better pitcher than Griffin Canning?
Well, because Griffin Canning was also arguably one of the worst starting pitchers last year. He's been better this year. 2.36 ERA, 42 strikeouts, 5-1 this year. He's been really good. I don't think there's any really weak link. Perfect.
I'm going to cut you off here, Bradley. We actually have a call-in from our Mets and Yankees beat reporters, Chris Carino and Grace McCarron.
Yeah, hey guys. First, if I hear even the Knicks said once, I'm gonna get off the line. Like we're not here for that. That's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about the Subway Series, and the Subway Series got off to a hot start last night. Specifically, the Yankees got off to a hot start. They got consistent offense down the stretch last night. That really, in comparison to kind of the themes of this season so far, that was the biggest kind of thing that jumped out to me the most. Can they take that momentum into today? That's going to be the big indicator of whether they can win this game or not. Consistent offense down the stretch. Clark Schmidt is on the mound today. Another successful start would definitely be helpful. Rodon was good last night, but it's really going to rest on the Yankee offense like it rests on the Met offense. The Met offense, in a similar way, kind of went the other way last night, and I think some of that consistency that the Yankees saw, if the Mets saw it, I think they would see a lot of success today. Just speaking from kind of what we've seen today, we were out at batting practice on the field before the game. We saw Lindor, we saw Vientos, we saw Alonso. Soto was the only Met in that in the first four in the starting lineup that was not out there. It was said that he was taking batting practice in the batting cages indoors, and he was really the only one we didn't see. Lindor was out there with his very large
He was probably scared
hair.
to come by.
What?
He was probably scared to come by.
Yeah, probably scared to come by. I didn't want to say that out loud, but I kind of wanted to. It was kind of being implied more than anything else. But yeah, just overall, a lot of Met fans here to a decent extent. We've seen probably not as many as we thought we would see last night, but today there's been probably more Met fans today than we saw last night. And just overall, the Yankees obviously had a big contingency out in right field, kind of giving Soto the negative feelings all afternoon last night. All night last night. I don't really see that changing here today. It feels like a lot of people are coming to the park to boo 22 in the blue and orange. Unfortunately, whether, that's a good thing or a bad thing, that's not really up to me. But what is up to me is the matchup today and, kind of framing what can be one of the better matchups of the season today. We look at kind of just some of the certain series you see throughout the year. There's obviously the contenders around the league, but this one truly, for everyone in this city and honestly nationwide, this is definitely a series everyone likes to pay attention to. And I'm going to hand it over to Grace. Grace McCarron now coming in.
Hey, guys.
What's up, Grace?
What's up?
I'm here.
Hello?
Hello? Karina, you hear us?
Hello? Yeah, we couldn't hear you. Grace McCarron's coming on right now. She's had a little trouble. We're good now, though.
Hey, guys. Sorry about that. So on the Mets end, I would just say you need to not do what you did last night. They were 1 for 9 with runners in scoring position, and that to me has been the main thorn in their side the past I don't want to say few weeks. Like, it hasn't presented itself to be a really big issue like it has in past years yet, but if anything is going to be a problem for them, that might be one of them. Because the Yankees are a very good team on offense. You can't really risk leaving those runners on when you have that opportunity. And Tyler McGill last night was not great. He's kind of had this stretch where he sometimes falls off a little come May, June, after having a great start to the season. So you hope that that's not going to happen. And then Canning today, I should say, should be great. He's been a really nice surprise for them. So hopefully that keeps up. But yeah, that's on the Mets end.
Thank you, guys. It's great to hear from you. Enjoy the game and thank you for covering this for us.
Go Mets.
Let's go Yankees.
Hello?
Hello.
Oh.
Hello. Yeah. No. Yeah. That was just Grace. I also wanted to add. It feels like the Juan Soto home run feels like an inevitability this weekend. We didn't get it last night. He was relatively quiet at the plate. today we will see if that inevitability takes place and he does hit that home run, because it does just seem like something that is going to happen. And just kind of to close on this as well, obviously, Yankee fans and Mets fans, all New York fans do tend to be crazy, do tend to live and die with the losses, whether it's May or it's October. But I do think overall this series is a celebration of just the pinnacle of baseball here in New York. I don't know if there's been this much talent in the city, in the game, in a long time. And this is just a massive celebration of that. So just to leave you guys off on that, I think, if you're a Met fan or a Yankee fan in this area, you should be excited and honestly just hyped for the rest of the season.
Sounds good. Appreciate you guys. Chris Carino, Grace McCarron, Mets and Yankees beat reporters calling in from the stadium. Enjoy the game, guys. Okay, well, moving on. It was very refreshing to see Devin Williams last night. He pitched one scoreless inning, 3 strikeouts, 24 pitches. It's very 14 pitches, pardon me. Very refreshing to see that from a pitcher who has been struggling as of late.
No, 100%, especially with, he has almost an 8 ERA with the 7.8 ERA, and he currently batting average against of 250. I think Devin Williams, I think this is just a bad slump. I think he'll eventually break out of it. Hopefully he's not like what we saw against the Mets in the playoffs last year, because if that's the Devin Williams that you're getting, then I would be a little nervous for what's to come October, but I think Devin Williams will break out of the sub. I think it's just like, that spring where it's just like, you're kind of like still trying to get used to the new system in New York, especially after being in Milwaukee. So I think it's just the transition period for Devin Williams, but I definitely see him bouncing back. But just that ERA, you got to fix the ERA. 7.8 ERA is a relief pitcher. It's a little
very, very shaky and very, very worrying for the Yankees earlier. It was early this season when he would give up runs every single night. Even though ERA is becoming a rather obsolete stat, his production has been brutal. But 14 pitches, 10 of them strikes, 3 strikeouts, painless inning, and then of course Luke Weaver coming in to seal the deal. It's a good sign for Yankees. The Mets on the Mets side. Did you notice Rodon last night pitching away from Juan Soto, not attacking him really?
I was watching the highlights and I saw that a little bit. Obviously, we had that whole drama with Juan Soto a few weeks ago about how he was talking about how he doesn't like that he's being pitched to differently now that he's on the Mets. But I think, in my opinion, the reason why Soto is being walked so much is obviously because of how good of a hitter he is. Like, nobody really wants to face Juan Soto like that. That's why I feel like that they're walking him a lot. And I think this is firing up Pete Alonso, because obviously Soto made that comment about how, if I'm hitting in front of Aaron Judge, obviously hitters or pitchers are going to throw to me because they don't want to.
Is this the same Pete Alonso that went 0 for 4 last night?
Okay, well, he's also
the same Pete Alonso that went 0 for 4.
Okay, well, that's also just one game in the middle of May. And although I do like I did want to go back to what Chris said before he left us. What's going on in this series is great for not just New York sports.
It's great for baseball.
Great for baseball. This is something that baseball needs. It needs hype in the middle of May when people, start watching the NBA playoffs or watching the NHL playoffs. This is what baseball needs. It needs series like this where it's like, despite obviously Yankees fans and Mets fans hating each other, for 1 or 2 weekends this year, they can come together and actually just have something in common, and that's enjoying the sport of baseball. And I just think that this series is definitely something that baseball really needs, especially, as I said just earlier, in the middle of May, people really aren't watching like that. But this is something that the sport really, really needs.
Especially, and at the stadium yesterday, it was packed out. It's very surprising with the Knicks home playoff game. 7th Avenue was packed. Yankee Stadium was packed. When they showed the Knicks score on the scoreboard at Yankee Stadium, the stadium exploded. There is a vibe and aura around the city that hasn't been there in years. Interesting stat: in 2000, when the Knicks made the playoffs, made the Eastern Conference Finals, what was the World Series that year? Subway Series.
Yeah, you gotta talk about that.
Is there a little bit of an omen going around the city?
It could. If you were to tell me right now what my prediction would be, I think it's Mets Yankees. Real talk.
A Mets Yankees Subway World Series and a Knicks championship in the same calendar year. The city is just bound for ruin at that point.
I think you might have to just evacuate the state at that point.
100% martial law in effect. Just have everything, shut everything down, board up the doors, board up the windows. It's on pace for that. two best teams in the league besides the Tigers. They're essentially the Cleveland Cavaliers right now.
Shout out to Javier Baez.
Yeah, shout out to Javi Baez, Gleyber Torres.
Gleyber Torres.
Mets and
as
Yankees
well.
legends. Javi Baez for the Mets, Gleyber Torres for the Yankees.
I guess
legends.
they just needed to not be in like really, really big markets. They just kind of like we talked about Julius Randle, just being in that middle.
The pressure. It's a lot of pressure.
it's a
in
lot
these
of pressure
teams.
being in like the New York. Obviously, the New York media is 1,000 times different than the Detroit media. Like I guess being in that middle of the pack.
And I strongly believe that New York fans both love and hate their players way more than any Detroit fan does.
Oh well, absolutely. Like if a New York player has a bad game, you're gonna hear it from the fans, and if they have a good game,
you can hear from everyone. It's crazy. And unfortunately, I'm one of those fans. I'm one of those fans who will despise a player, despise everything around everything after a bad game. I was telling my friends, it's so over. The Knicks lost a series. That's it. After we lost Game 5.
I'm not that type of fan. I'm the type of I always kept my confidence.
I'm one of those fans that you see on the side talk videos going insane on 7th Avenue, spazzing out, like tweaking out completely.
For me, after Game 5, I was just thinking, like, I never lost confidence. Like, okay, they'll just win Game 6. It's fine.
And I love how a Subway Series segment turned back into the Knicks.
We always just find
it's on the mind.
It's in our DNA. We always gotta like find a way to bring the topic back to the Knicks. But let's just.
But then looking back at the Subway Series again, Game 2 of the Subway Series, Mets versus Yankees, first pitch in 8 minutes out in Yankee Stadium. What do you expect to see from the Mets? Do you expect them to come out guns blazing, come out hot?
I don't think guns blazing. I do think the Mets are going to win this game. I do think they will bounce back, but it's not going to be like a guns blazing. I think it's going to be okay. My prediction: I'll say Mets win 4-3.
Mets win 4-3. How good of a gem do you see from Griffin Canning today?
This might sound incredibly cliche, corny. I think Juan Soto first home run.
Oh, here we go.
I think it's gonna. Whether it's today or tomorrow, it's gonna happen. That 4-3 score is going to be at the bottom or the top of the ninth where Juan Soto hits the lead-taking home run. That might sound cliche, but I think if it's any time to happen, it's got to be this weekend. And I'm excited for tomorrow, too. Max Fried's pitching tomorrow. David Peterson.
David Peterson, shiver me timbers.
David Peterson was solid last year.
Oh, my God, I'm so scared of David Peterson. Oh. Looking at the odds on ESPN.com right now, they have a Yankees a -1.5. You think the line should be bigger or smaller?
Well, I don't gamble. Make sure, please gamble responsibly.
Yeah, gamble responsibly, and only if you're over 21.
Yes, please. And if you ever need help, please call the number. But in my opinion, whatever the Mets money line is, I'm taking that.
They're not super underdogs. They're only plus 115. Not a crazy line.
I would take that if I don't gamble, but if you gamble. My recommendation is to take the Mets money line.
And ESPN has the Yankees has a 63.1% chance to win the game, which I think is a little high.
Those ESPN statistics just annoy me. Like I was on College Gridiron with a couple of people, and apparently there was like this team that had a 75% chance to win, and they ended up getting like blown out. I just don't get these ESPN like percentage statistics. Like I don't know, to be honest with you.
On the topic of odds, yesterday I remember hearing on the ESPN broadcast that the Knicks were actually favorited for the first time in this series.
They were favorited, and according to ESPN statistics, they have a 52.2% chance to beat the Pacers on Wednesday.
I like that. That's why I want to hear that.
It should be more like 62% instead of 52%. But
it is what it is, and that's gonna do it for our Subway Series segment. After this, we're gonna talk some hockey. Catch you guys on the other side.
You're listening to WFUV New York.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Islanders season in review. I'm Nick Palmer. This is Grace McCarron, and this is the last time I'll be able to say this because we were your 2024-25 New York Islanders beat reporters for WFUV Sports, and this is the last piece of hockey beat reporting I will be doing in my FUV career, which makes me very sad, but I would rather spend it with nobody else. You are a great beat reporter and a great friend, and the New York Islanders did not make the playoffs. They finished with 82 points, finished with a 35-35 and 12 record. That's 6th in the Metro, 12th in the Eastern Conference, and they got eliminated late because they had a nice stretch at the end. I need an overall take on the Islanders season. Just how disappointing was it? Scale of 1 to 10. That's a good place to start.
With how disappointing, probably like a 7.5. I didn't think. I mean, it was kind of clear. I think from a certain point, like earlier than they were eliminated, that even if they somehow snuck into the playoffs, they weren't gonna make any noise. So I kind of saw it coming. But it was like that 7-game stretch where they were beating all of those great teams and they went on a nice run. Like that kind of made you think, if you're like optimistic at all about your hockey team, like you never know. But overall, kind of an season. Like it's not. I mean, certainly not the worst season we've ever seen. But it's not. It wasn't good. It wasn't really a fun time. There was a lot of things that happened that just weren't great.
No, there were a lot of bad things that happened, but I think if there's one positive thing you can say about this season is that it was a season of change. Brock Nelson leaves the island. We don't think he's ever going to come back. That said, Lou Lamoriello is now gone after this season, so you can certainly thank this season for inciting that change, as well as it was Patrick Waugh's first full season. We'll see if he comes back. We'll see what the new GM wants. I thought it was interesting having him behind the bench. That's an inoffensive way to put it. A lot of change. A lot of change. But I think the biggest thing that takes it down from a 7.5, and I think you are just talking about the season. Yeah. This week, the New York Islanders, with a 3.5% chance in the NHL draft lottery, won over the 25.5% San Jose Sharks. It's ridiculous. They had the second lowest odds. And a little fun fact, because if the Rangers, if the Islanders had won one game against the Rangers this season, the Rangers would have won the draft lottery. So, Long Island.
Shout out Lydia Perner.
The hockey gods, maybe they're smiling on the Islanders.
Yeah.
And you know what? I would go even further to say, now that Brock Nelson trade is looking so good.
It really is.
That's 2 first-rounders in 2026. In addition to the fact that they also got Callum Ritchie as well. So you have so many great prospects now, and it's going to be an exciting time at the draft. My first question for you is, who do you want to see the Islanders draft at first overall?
So I've seen a lot of names floating around here. I think the consensus before they got the pick was James Higgins, and I still think that's who they should draft. I'm such a sucker for like the homegrown, like not homegrown. He's from Long Island. He grew up an Islanders fan. I love that kind of stuff. He's also a great hockey player.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is the move. And I also think I saw someone say this on Twitter the other day. Like, he's been that guy for so long. Like, I feel like for a year at least we've heard about like, oh, if they get, they have to go with Higgins. Like, if they are bad enough, they'll get him. And now all of a sudden it's like, oh, should they go with Misa? Should they go? And it's like, if it was that long and all of a sudden people are like, oh, but what about these guys? Like, you can't really turn your back immediately on the guy who they've been going after for so long. So I think Higgins is the move.
I like Higgins as the pick. A lot of people are saying Misa.
Yeah.
And I don't think that that's a terrible choice. What I was interested in seeing, and I saw this on Twitter, was what if the Islanders take a haul from the San Jose Sharks to trade down to number 2, and then in return you still probably get Higgins because the Sharks are probably going to take Misa. So what if you say to the Sharks, we're going to take Misa unless if you give us a massive trade package.
I actually don't hate that. I didn't even think of that as a concept. But I kind of like that.
It's an interesting move.
That's interesting.
But that's something the GM would do.
Yeah, and we don't know who
that is. And we don't have one yet. So I don't know. I'm throwing my hat in the ring here. I just took that from Twitter. If the GM took every idea from Twitter, we would be in a terrible, terrible place. Okay, so great. We have the first overall pick. The future looks very bright. Let's talk about the future that we already had coming into this year. The prospects coming up are not first overall pick level prospects who we saw this year. We saw Mark Gatcomb. And no disrespect to these guys. I thought Isaiah George played fine. I thought Gatcomb was good at the end of the season. George had to become a regular for a certain amount of time.
I think that was probably kind of an issue for him. He was
for sure.
Thrown into it very quickly.
Thrown into the second pair.
Yeah, and that's like
that's terrible.
Guy just came from Bridgeport.
That sucks. But I thought Gatcomb on the fourth line was amazing.
I loved it.
Yeah. So what did you think of our rookies this year?
First of all, Max Siplikov I think was really, really, really good.
Sorry. Yes.
Yeah.
Sippy. It's hard to call him a rookie.
He doesn't feel like a rookie.
He doesn't feel because he's what 26.
Yeah.
27.
Yeah. But he was great. I loved Mark Gatcomb. I thought he did a lot for that fourth line. Isaiah George, I think he has a lot of potential. Obviously, like, Bridgeport is a tough case because they were just so bad this year. But it's really, like, you can't even put it into words until you see them.
And yet, who's still running their team?
Right. Really makes you think. But
it's okay. Chris is going to follow Lou wherever he goes.
But I liked Isaiah George a lot, too. Obviously, like, when these guys are just thrown into, like you said, George was on the second pair, mostly with Scott Mayfield. Like, it's tough to expect that much of them so quickly.
Yeah.
So I think maybe he got a little bit of unfair criticism. Like, he made mistakes, but, like, all rookies make mistakes. Kind of got to go easy on the guy. And I think I like their rookies a lot.
Yeah.
At least this season. We'll have to see what happens.
And shout out Scott Mayfield. I think he had one of the higher plus minuses on the team this year, and he doesn't get the love he deserves for what he is.
Yeah.
For a guy that plays the role that he does, I think he does a very good job. Let's talk about the players who played well before we talk about what went really poorly this season. Anders Lee led the team with goals, almost at 30.
Yeah.
29. I still watch the Anders Lee 40 goal season compilation
who doesn't?
On YouTube all the time while I eat my Cheerios. But he had a great year.
Yeah.
He looked revitalized. There was a period, I think, last year where it seemed like even when he had the puck on his stick right in front of the net, it just wouldn't go his way.
Yeah.
This year, it was finally going his way, and that just came from battling down low and the kind of physical player in front of the net that he is. And that's him working at his best. And I think the Islanders are glad to see that maybe the last year or two was kind of a blip on the radar.
Yeah, he was great this season. You saw the physicality. Obviously, he's a big guy, and the leadership from him, I think, has always been there. But like
the leadership
through like a lot of the stuff this season, like he had to take a lot of the heat, and I felt bad a lot of the time for him having to deal with their, all of the stuff that was being said about them. But I mean, he was great. He handles the locker room very nicely, I think.
Handles the media very well.
He's a great captain.
Great captain.
Even through his own struggles
Yeah,
before this
it was
year.
never about
but
him,
It was
though.
never about him. This year, he was the least of their. He wasn't a problem. Like, he wasn't even on the problem list for them this year. He was great this year. I loved it.
We'll get into the problem list.
Yeah.
But I do want to give a quick tip of the hat to Bo Horvat, who I think
Yes.
deserved it as well. Consistency was a big issue for the Islanders. One player that it felt like was completely consistent throughout all 82 is Bo Horvat.
Yeah, loved it. That's another guy who you need to see that toughness from, and I think they had that this year, and that's kind of why I feel like they were in it for so long. I feel like it was those guys who were really keeping it going when Anthony Duclair, who we'll talk about, but some other guys just had nothing, and they had injuries and all of that. But those guys were so consistent, they really kept them in it until. Really, the end of the season, they were somehow still in the playoff picture. They were those two, I think, were the main reasons. And you can throw Ilya Sorokin on there, too.
I was going to say, you can totally throw Ilya Sorokin in there. When it seemed like in the first half of the year, people were ready to count him out, which felt insane.
That's insane.
I get that he didn't have the start you wanted after signing the kind of contract that he's signed. That said, he ends up with 29 wins and a 2.77 goals against. That's nothing to sneeze at. Even more, top 10 in the league in terms of goals saved above expected.
Yeah.
If you have a top 10 goaltender in the league, I'm sorry, he's doing his job, and it's up to the rest of the team, the defense, to do a better job. And even more than the defense, perhaps, the special teams this year were awful.
Yeah, every time they went on the power play, I was like, this is actually good for the other teams. They're not going to score. They're not going to do anything on the power play. It was clear from early that they were just not going to do anything. And even the penalty kill sometimes was it was a little, it had its periods being fine, but it was never great. It was those two things were always such a liability for them, and it was really bad. Every single time they went on the power play, you're there's reasons for that we'll talk about, but they had nothing on the power play, and other teams capitalized on the fact that they couldn't score on the power play.
Yeah. And do you want to hear the worst? Do you want to hear the worst part of it?
Sure.
The Islanders took the second fewest penalties in the league, and still the penalty kill was not where it needed to be.
That's terrible.
This team did a good job of not taking a lot of penalties. They also didn't draw a lot of penalties.
Yeah.
They were also, I believe, second least penalties drawn. But outside of that, man, it just felt like the power play wasn't a power play at all. It felt like honestly, and this is not hyperbole, it felt like you almost wanted it to be 5-on-5.
Yes, that was every
and
single
that should
time
never
for
be
me.
the case when you're watching a hockey team.
Yeah, no, there was no excitement when they went on the power play. It was kind of more of a sense of dread.
No, it's are they going to give up a shorthanded goal here?
Yes, I was genuinely afraid that was going to happen.
Yeah. Okay, we'll move on from this because I'm starting to get upset. Let's talk about injuries because there were a lot of them this year.
Yeah.
I think the first one you have to talk about is Matt Barzal, which came, I think, in the 1st of February, and that was just immediately crippling for the New York Islanders.
Yeah.
The team lost speed. It lost dexterity. He's so good on his edges, and I think that's why the power play was so awful this year.
That's what I think, too.
Because Matt Barzal is the guy that just creates space on the power play. He can take up two defenders and get Bo Horvat open for a backdoor pass, can get Anders Lee for a backdoor pass. When he's not on the ice, this team seriously suffers.
Yeah. That was the big one for me. Another big one, a big injury for them. Anthony Duclair was kind of just a liability, whether he was healthy or not.
Big injury. I think that's a very good point.
That was a big injury.
It's a great point because they signed him before the year, expecting him to play at least 60 games for them. And he was out every 2 weeks.
How many games did he play? Do we know? Do we have that number?
I'll get that number up for you while we talk about perhaps an injury that might have flown under the radar. Semyon Varlamov.
That I think is one of the biggest injuries.
Not even their backup goaltender, but they were one of those tandems that you could say, okay, that's a 1A, 1B. You can throw either one out of there and have a pretty good chance to win. Semyon Varlamov goes down in December. Doesn't come back for the rest of the year. And all of a sudden it's, okay, Ilya, go out and play 45 games and maybe Marcus Hogberg will take a couple of them. But
I will give Marcus Hogberg a little credit here. He had a good run there. but that's also kind of like he reached his limit as like highly useful.
Yes.
Varlamov, you could generally rely on to give you a few good games, and then Sorokin obviously takes the most of them. But like, it's their third string goalie. Like, it's tough to ask that much of him. And then he had a period where he was just not reliable at all.
No.
And then like it's a domino every single time, because if your backup goalie option isn't any good, then you have to put Sorokin out there, especially when you're still alive for a playoff spot. But then he gets tired and he starts giving up goals, and everyone's like, "Wow, Ilya Sorokin's bad stretch," and it's like, well, there's a reason for the bad stretch, and it was Varlamov's injury. I think was one of the biggest problems this year.
And I think that's evidenced by when Islanders would go into back-to-back games.
Yeah.
And you're just thinking, we're going to lose one of these. I mean, we've put Ilya through so much, and now we're going to have him play 2 games in 24 hours. As far as Anthony Duclair is concerned, 44 games for Duke, minus 15. 11 points in 44 games. That's averaging a point every 4 games. Man. I don't know. I think I'm not thrilled with Lou, given his injury history.
Yeah.
Going for Duke there. I don't think it's a bad idea in theory. If, you know what, hey, maybe the medical experts cleared him and everything looked good, fine. He gave up with 11 games to go. He left the team.
Yeah, that was not good.
And we all just kind of let it slide.
Yeah.
What kind of a player? Look, I don't know what was going on with him. I don't want to make any assumptions.
Yeah.
That said, he said he's stepping away from the team. That's not what a teammate does.
That's not what a teammate does. And it's like when you've had, like, obviously there's not really anything you can do about the injuries. Like, they're going to happen, and you can't really play him out there when he's that injured. But, like, it's such a bad look when that was kind of a big deal over the summer when they signed him. I mean, I was excited. I don't know how you felt, but, like, yeah, I think we were all like, oh, that's a good move. It's interesting. And then it goes like this. Especially in the season where they had, like, so many things. Like, it was thing after thing. They had all those overtime losses early. Like, adding on to that, and then Waugh, like, tears into him, and then he's like, I'm taking some time away. It was just, like, a really bad period there for them.
Very clearly there was a disagreement between the two.
Yeah.
Just for anyone who wasn't there for it, Waugh, after a 4-1 loss to his former team, the Tampa Bay Lightning. Not Waugh's former team, Duclair's former team. Waugh says Duclair was god-awful. Duclair does not show up at practice on Thursday morning. And he said, we had a very good conversation, a positive one. He asked me to take some time off and reflect. So he agreed to it. I mean, if
2 weeks left in the season.
2 weeks left in the season.
Like, you have a whole off season to reflect.
Yeah.
So
reflect and play some hockey, man. That's what they paid you to do.
Yeah.
Not the best look for the Islanders. I think also, just quickly to mention, Pelech and Pulock were not healthy together for a big part of the season.
Yeah.
And I know people are saying, oh, the Pelech and Pulock pair is not as effective as it once was, say in those late 2010 playoff runs or in 2020. But they were a big part of the defense, and like we mentioned earlier, Isaiah George on the second pair, that's not what you want to see.
That was tough. And even pairing him with a guy like Scott Mayfield for a lot of his games, it's still a lot to ask of a rookie to play second pairing minutes. Like, that's throwing him into the fire like that. And he had his moments of being really good, but he also made mistakes, and that happens. You can't really knock him that much for that. All rookies mess up every now and then. So I felt bad for Isaiah George. And then Pelech and Pulock, like, that was another tough situation when they're both not healthy a lot of the time. And then when they are healthy, it's not the same. Like, it was thing after thing with the defense. I feel like there was a lot going against them this year. So yeah.
A lot going against them. A lot of losing for the Islanders, not just games, but players too. There's 2 guys I want to highlight. The first of them was Brock Nelson, who was traded on the trade deadline March 7th, 2025, a day that will go down in infamy. No, actually, it might, for a good reason.
Yeah.
2026 first rounder, Calum Ritchie and Oliver Killington, but they flipped him to the Ducks, for future considerations. That must feel so bad, by the way, when you get traded and it's not even for future considerations. Yeah. my 13U hockey coach, who was the first coach I ever had. He tough love, but without the love, he was just like not nice. He threatened that he would trade me for a bag of pucks.
Oh wow!
After I gave up 5 goals to the Junior Ducks. 5 goals in 1 period to the Junior Ducks.
I mean, we all have our days.
We all have our days at in Anaheim. Brutal, because that's a long drive for me too. Anyway, back to the point. Yes, they did not trade Brock Nelson for a bag of pucks.
No.
They got a bundle of riches. And now, if you were to grade the farm of every NHL team, it would be tough not to have the Islanders in the top 5.
I agree. I mean, that trade, like, looking at it from the opposite end,
Looks
for
so
Colorado.
good.
No, for Colorado.
Oh, yeah, for them.
Looks absolutely brutal because they got him as a rental. He didn't do anything in the playoffs. He wasn't great in the playoffs.
No.
And they lost in the first round. Like, they didn't make any playoff noise. And I know a lot of people who had them winning the cup. I thought they were going to make at least a deep run.
Yeah.
So that's brutal for Colorado, but great for the New York Islanders. I mean, I love Brock Nelson.
You don't want to see him fail. Also, he had 2 games with 2 assists in the playoffs.
Yeah, like, all right. He was
okay.
It was fine. But he wasn't a huge playmaker in the playoffs, I'll say that. But I do.
He still ended up +2.
Yeah, I do. I miss him in blue and orange, but this was the best case scenario for the Islanders because if you're going to have to make that kind of like heart-wrenching trade at the deadline with the way that the team was looking, like they did really well for themselves there.
Yeah. How about in 4 years, like the year before he's about to retire, we bring him back for a year?
I love that.
When everyone has grown up and
when Mark Gatcomb is like on the first line.
That's the first player I was thinking of, actually.
Really?
No. No, there were about 5 other names that passed through my head. Mark Gatcomb was great this year.
I love Mark Gatcomb.
In news of other people who are gone, I guess more officially now because he didn't play last year, Cal Clutterbuck announced his retirement on April 23rd. That was like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
1,064 NHL games, all-time hits leader in the NHL. Big Cal. All-time Islander.
Love him. Yeah.
Give me your thoughts on Cal Clutterbuck as an entire body of work.
Well, first of all, great NHL career, great long NHL career. He was on some good Islander teams too. That identity line with Zeker, Martz, and him, special place in my heart because I love all 3 of them. I also honestly like he seemed to really kind of like outside the ice a little. He was great at the broadcasting thing this
Smart
year.
guy.
Like, smart guy. Brought a lot of great insight, like, from very recently, like, guy who just hung up the skates.
And not just when he's wearing those glasses either. I mean, he looks really smart when he's wearing those glasses, but he's just bright in general.
But I love him as a broadcaster. I hope he's around for a long time. He has a long career in that. But, like, obviously we're going to miss him on the ice because he was fantastic.
Having the Thomas Hickey Cal Clutterbuck combination would feed families on Long Island for a long, long time. Talking about big events on Long Island, that's not really a big event, but I'm just trying to transition here. Alex Ovechkin, he scored goal number 895 at UBS Arena. I was there, and it was awesome. I can't even lie.
Yeah,
the Islanders were done. The Islanders were done. They did a whole
and they still won that game.
Then they still won that
game. That
was
actually best case scenario for both of us.
I know.
Like,
yeah. They still won that game.
That's what I'm gonna remember. I don't know about you, but I'm gonna remember that when Alex Ovechkin made history, the Islanders still won that game.
The Islanders still won that game.
So I went home happy.
Regardless, it was a nice moment. I don't think it's number 895 having it happen to you is necessarily a point of ridicule or anything like that. I think it's just something that happened. It's not like you lost the cup, you know?
Like, it's fine. Obviously, it's unfortunate. It's a little unfortunate we're going to be seeing that goal scored on Ilya Sorokin for years and years and years until, like, if anybody ever breaks it, which I don't know that they will, but that's a little unfortunate. But I'm sure Ilya Sorokin is fine. He's going to be fine. He's still a great goalie.
He's still a great goalie.
And it's, like, it is what it is. And again, they still won that game.
They still won that game.
Was it 4-1 or 5-1? I don't remember. it was a decisive Islanders win. That's what I remember.
Let me take a look here.
But it was a really, I was in the stands for that.
It was a 4-1 win for the
Yeah.
Islanders, but I think what was more important was that Mark Gatcomb scored more goals than Alex
Oh my
Ovechkin did
God,
that game.
that was the Mark
That
Gatcomb
was the
hat-trick watch game. Oh my
hat-trick
God,
watch game. He did not score a hat-trick.
God, you would be really sick of me
Gatcomb
if you
2, Ovechkin 1.
I mean,
Checkmate.
hey, like, makes you think. But I was in the stands for that. You were in the press box.
Yes.
It was really crazy in the stands. Like a lot of Caps fans there, obviously, and everything stopped when he scored that. It was like you could feel the moment hang in the air, and it was really awesome. Like it was an awesome hockey moment. It happened to the Islanders, but like it's fine. I'm over it.
Yeah.
And the Islanders still won that game. I'll keep saying it.
They still won that game.
They did.
That said, one of those teams is still in the playoffs.
Yes. Well.
So.
Yeah. Mark Gatcomb still scored 2 goals that day.
Mark
and Alex
Gatcomb-
Ovechkin only scored 1. So.
Mark Gatcomb, future Conn Smythe winner.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
book
calling
it, book it now,
Book it
guys.
now.
You
All right.
clip this.
All right, we're going off the rails here. Can I just get some final thoughts on the New York Islanders and this season and what this season has meant to you?
Well, I mean, it was my first time being on the beat, so
You
it was
did a
lot,
great job.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun. Met a lot of great other reporters there, and talked to a lot of cool players. It was just really cool to be around. For the season itself, I mean, kind of just a big shrug. Like, they had their moments of like, maybe they could do it. I'm trying to think of the moment where I thought like, oh, maybe they can make the playoffs. Let me look at I mean, it was definitely during that 7-game win streak. Like, I was at the game on January 25th where they beat Carolina in overtime. Maybe that was one of them that I really thought like, oh, they might be able to do this. And then they beat the Lightning in Tampa in overtime a few days later. So they had their moments.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like, they didn't have enough. I don't think even if they'd snuck in, they would have been able to do anything. So it's kind of a big shrug of a season, but it was a fun ride. Like, we had some really fun moments. There were some fun games that we covered. I mean, you got the Ovechkin game, which is probably the best one to have been at. But
And you got the Buffalo game.
I did get the Buffalo game. God, that was something.
They lost 7-1, by the way.
I also
It's fine because the Rangers lost 8-1 to Buffalo.
You know what I also was in attendance for, and I was next to our very own Lydia Perner for, is the 9-2 Rangers victory at UBS. I don't know which one was worse. Probably the Buffalo game. That was really
I
bad.
thought that was at MSG.
No, that was at UBS.
You also went to the
April
one
10th.
at MSG.
Yes, I was.
Which the
we were in
Islanders
the
also
stands
lost.
for that one.
I was in the
That
press box.
was 4-0
Yeah.
Rangers. But
Hey,
the other
but
one
aren't
was
you
worse.
glad we lost?
I am now.
But aren't
looking
you
back,
glad we lost?
Looking back, I'm like, it was awful in the moment. Like, sitting in that press box, that final Rangers-Islanders game at UBS, in the moment when they scored 9 goals on the Islanders was not great.
If
but now
only you had
it's
known
fine.
when
right.
you're sitting next to Lydia Perner and the Rangers have
Right.
put up 9 goals and she's having the time of her life.
She
and
was
you
like
can just-
grinning like an idiot.
I
Will
know.
Cooley scored.
And
so.
if only you could just turn to her and say, "I know the future."
Yeah. If only.
The result of this game will give us the first overall pick and not
Right.
you.
So, looking back, it ended up being fine.
Yeah. This is the only time when Captain Hindsight is like a good thing.
Exactly.
To do. I'd like to throw out some thank yous since my tenure is over as a New York Islanders beat reporter. My first thank yous, Lou Orlando, Will Talent, excellent station managers here. They did a fantastic job letting me do my thing, trusting the process, and can thank them very much for that. Even going back, Julia Moss, Ryan Gregware, even as far back as Alex Wolves, who just gave me a shot here. All of those guys, big thank you to. And then on the Islanders side, all of the, PR media team, Kimber Adenauer, very, very fair guy, and I appreciate that. Lane Lambert, Patrick Waugh, thank you for giving me the time of day. And to all the Islanders players, seriously, it's a good group of guys out there. They have heart, they want to win, and they're respectful. And, as a young guy sort of walking in there, pretty darn timid, they don't have to be nice. And they don't have to be respectful, but they are. And I'd like to shout out, especially someone like Anders Lee. Yeah, that was really nice. Finally, finally, the other members of the press for the New York Islanders. Day one, I sat down at a table next to him like a kid in a cafeteria. I said, "Hey, can I sit with you guys?" Stefan Rosner, Andrew Gross, Russ McKeous, Ethan Sears, Arthur Staple. The list goes on and on and on. I'm Joe Pantorno.
Yeah.
Scott Charles. All of
Love
these guys.
Scott.
All of these guys really do the entirety of Long Island a service by beat reporting for the New York Islanders, and fans are very, very lucky to have them. And you're very, very lucky to have Grace McCarron as your New York Islanders beat reporter next season. And is it clear who you'll be doing it with?
Not yet.
Still unclear.
We'll
so
see.
Keep an eye out for that. But if you want some tried and true expertise, the lady sitting across the table from me does a surefine job of that. So I'm looking forward to what you have for next year.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you all for everyone who followed along this year for both of us. And the last couple years that I've covered the Islanders has been one of the distinct pleasures of my life. It has taught me lessons and skills that are invaluable. And, I grew up in LA. I am a Kings fan at heart, but dang, this team captured a little piece of my soul and will keep it forever. The New York Islanders have a bright future, and I'm glad that I'm leaving at a time when I can say I'm optimistic about the future of the New York Islanders, because if you asked me that a year ago, I wouldn't be sure.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely.
So that's all we've got for you guys on the 2024-25 season. Thank you guys for following along. Please follow along next year with Grace at Grace McCarron on X. If you want to catch my sports ramblings, I will continue to do it. It's an addiction. Nick Ballmer 55 on X as well. Please follow WFUV Sports. They will continue with great coverage for years to come. Thanks, everyone. Let's go Islanders. Hello.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to One-on-One, New York's longest-running sports call-in show here at the Rose Hill Studios on the campus of Fordham University. It's commencement day. I believe the seniors have already left the building. The ceremony's definitely over by now, although there were 20,000 people on campus today. But Tucker Austin here alongside Sophia Smith. We're going to be taking you through the NHL segment of today's show. It's always a good day when we can work in some NHL talk on one-on-one, especially when none of the Metro teams are actually still in the playoffs, but we still get a chance to talk a little hockey. We'll get into the Stanley Cup playoffs a little bit towards the end of this segment, but first off, since you're plugged in with the Rangers, Sophia, I wanted to ask you about the Mike Sullivan hiring because Peter Laviolette is out, the man who was not going into the locker room after games for the last month or so of the NHL season. What's coming for the Rangers in the Mike Sullivan era?
I think that this was the best option. My Laviolette really disappointed me, obviously, as he did everyone else. He had so much success 2 years ago now. That this past season was such a disappointment, and I don't think that nobody expected it. The fans didn't expect it. The players didn't expect it, and I don't think that it was all Laviolette's fault, but he had to go because it wasn't working. And I think that he did lose the locker room a little bit at the end, as a fan perspective. I think that that's what happened, and so I'm hoping that Sullivan can bring some more positivity into the locker room, and I think that he's had so much success in Pittsburgh. I'm just hoping that he's able to turn it all around, and I think that the off season will be very telling. Are him and Drury going to stick with the guys that they have now, or is it going to look really different? I am a huge fan of Chris Kreider, and I am really praying that they don't get rid of him, and I think that Mike Sullivan is a fan of him as well, and I'm really hoping that makes Kreider stay.
Well, who knows? I mean, he's no stranger to letting team leaders loose from this squad. The whole Jacob Trouba episode happened earlier this year. But does Mike Sullivan know how to solve the Mika Zibanejad question?
I don't know.
I think that's probably the biggest question mark for this Rangers team right now is what happened to Mika Zibanejad, and will he ever be back?
He got a little hot at the end of the season, though. So I'm hoping that can continue. But yeah, someone needs to come in from somewhere else and try to get Mika hot again.
Is it like a bucket of water over the head? They need to just splash him awake or something? At this point, it's really crazy. And the locker room has been fractured all season, obviously, and I don't think that made it a good environment for Mika to bring his issues to the team because he tried. He tried to bring his struggles mentally to the team, and the team was split down the middle, and they couldn't really help him. So he just kind of was stuck there floundering. And then Laviolette, of course, didn't really help because he never it seems like he never even made an effort to try and bring the team back together. He just let it go.
Ridiculous. He was like, I'm not going into the locker room anymore after losses. You're the coach. What do you mean? And then I think that Trouba obviously was let go, and then they don't have a captain currently. I think that needs to be set, even though there's no the season was so bad that there isn't even anyone that I would say totally absolutely deserves it. But again, probably showing some bias here, but I think that it should be Kreider. It should have been Kreider in the beginning. It should have been Kreider before Trouba. It has to be him. Or I could see them going with JT Miller or Fox, but I'm hoping that they name a captain sooner rather than later. I think that will give everyone a sense of leadership that I think that the locker room needs right now.
Yeah. Well, the Rangers definitely have some work cut out for them this offseason. Yeah. Mike Sullivan has some work cut out for him. But like you said, he had some success in Pittsburgh, and he's getting a pretty talented Ranger team that just wasn't really that cohesive last season. I mean, Artemi Panarin still exists, and he's still one of the best players in the NHL. Alexis Lafreniere, one of the better up-and-coming players in the NHL. The Rangers are not at a loss for talent. They're at a loss for leadership. And so Mike Sullivan, seemingly the answer for Rangers fans. It will remain to be seen as we get towards the season. But we got to talk about the Stanley Cup playoffs. Obviously, the Devils have been eliminated. The Islanders and Rangers did not make it to the dance this year. But regardless, there are still there's still one series left. Are there 2 series left?
2.
I think it's 2, right? Yeah, because the Maple Leafs last night forced Game 7 against the Florida Panthers. I was just on 5 on 3 talking about how the Leafs Cup parade is canceled. It's the city of Toronto's in complete shambles.
The
Like they just got
Leafs-
embarrassed at home.
I know, but the Leafs have lost 5 of their last 6 game 7s. So I'm really curious, and I'm rooting for the Panthers in this whole thing. I've been a little fan of them for a few years now, and I really hope that they can win it, because losing to the Leafs, especially when the Leafs were shut out, like they scored 1 goal in like 8 periods until last night, the 3rd period. So I just want the Panthers to do it.
And they scored 1 goal in like garbage time in the 3rd
Mhm.
period at home when the Panthers had already
Exactly.
laid 6 goals on them, like unanswered, and that was at home. So it's a 6-1 loss in Toronto for the Maple Leafs, and that's the last time you played in front of your home fans. You beat the Panthers 2-0 away in Game 6 to force Game 7, which, I mean, that's pretty significant. Joseph Woll played great, 22 saves on 22 shots faced. But the Leafs didn't score until the 3rd period. Like you said, it took them a while to get going. Austin Matthews put one in the back of the net.
Yeah, finally.
And then the other scorer was Max Pacioretty, which is kind of an odd place to get a goal from if you're Toronto. But, they'll take it where they can get it. But you go back to Toronto, and I don't know how you're supposed to have confidence. If you're a Maple Leafs fan, I don't know how you have confidence in, like, buying a ticket to Game 7.
Yeah.
It's got to feel like lighting money on fire at this point. Because, like, the Leafs are almost allergic to winning at home.
Yeah. And, again, they can't win in Game 7, so maybe
So,
maybe they'll turn it around. Who
Game
knows?
7 is this Sunday, 7:30, obviously in Toronto. Panthers and Maple Leafs playing for a right to play against the Carolina Hurricanes in the Eastern Conference Final. They absolutely handled the Washington Capitals, and I wasn't really surprised because the team that I saw completely murder a butchered Devils team in the first round showed up again against Washington. And I was like, this should not be that difficult of a series for Carolina because they play so physically and they wear the other team down. Washington just not physically built for it.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of people say that they play boring hockey, but it's just that's how they play. Like they tear teams down. They didn't have to get through the Rangers this year, so that's why they're in the Eastern Conference Final. But they have been swept their last 3 Eastern Conference Final. They have not won a single game since 2006 in the Eastern Conference Final.
Yep.
So
and they've gone a couple of times.
Yeah.
That's the thing, too. They've gone to the Eastern Conference Final
times.
3 times, but they've been swept in all of those appearances.
So, do they have it in them?
Can they win a game? Step 1 is win a game.
True, yes.
But I think if it's the Panthers again, it's going to be a problem because the Panthers and Hurricanes are pretty similarly structured, but the Panthers, I really liked the way that I believe it was Nick Palmer or maybe Jack Warner who put it this way, that Carolina plays a dumber version of Florida, or that Florida plays smarter bully hockey than Carolina, where Carolina's just go, 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 get after it. Florida does it, but in a more calculated way that like almost wears you down like robotically rather than just like in the mayhem. It's what allows Carolina to be a little vulnerable, but it's also what makes Florida that much harder of a team to play against because they're so calculated about when they bring the extra lumber.
Absolutely.
But there's one other series that's still active, Dallas and Winnipeg. That game 6, I believe. Yeah, Game
tonight.
6 is tonight in Dallas. The Stars have the 3-2 lead and a chance to close it out at home. I think they got to do it tonight or it's not getting done.
And I know I keep bringing up past stats, but the Jets are 0-5 on the road this playoffs and have lost 9 straight playoff appearances on the road. So
now is the time, especially
now
with
is the time.
the kind of home environment that Winnipeg has up there, the whiteout games, the noise. It's so ridiculous. The Stars basically had to throw away Game 5 in a 3-0 loss and just like start trying to hit the Jets and make them remember that they're there. Because what are you supposed to do in that environment? If the Jets get ahead, they're just going to run with it. But regardless, it's do or die time then for the Dallas Stars tonight because Winnipeg probably wins Game 7 at home.
To come back from a 3-1 lead.
Yeah, be pretty special. But they are playing for the right to take on the Edmonton Oilers, who got by the Vegas Golden Knights. So some pretty interesting series on both sides. For me, I think that Florida is still built to win it. Ever since the Devils got knocked out, or ever since the first round series where Florida beat Tampa Bay, I said to myself, the Cats are going to win it again. So I'm going to keep riding with the Florida Panthers. Who you got out of these last 5 or so?
I want the Cats, but I feel a little bit. I don't know. I don't know about it. So I'm gonna go with the Edmonton probably.
All right.
Oilers.
Edmonton Oilers for Sophia Smith. I've got the Florida Panthers. Plenty of Stanley Cup action going on this weekend, but that is going to take us to a break. We're going to come back on the other side of this break with our final segment of the show. The two guys, George Sfouggatakis and Bradley Birne, in the back are going to come back out and break down the NFL schedule release. We'll be back in a moment.
Welcome back to 101, New York's longest-running sports call-in show on 90.7 FM WFUV. I'm George Sfouggatakis here with Bradley Birne. It's time to talk some NFL scheduling. So the NFL schedules were released this week, and the New Yorkers have an interesting opinion on it, because Vegas has the Giants as having the hardest schedule with a net total of 5.5 wins. And they have the 49ers as having the easiest total schedule with expecting 10.5 wins. Bradley, what do you think of this?
I don't know what the NFL was taking whenever they were making the schedule.
They were cooking something up.
They were, well, in a bad way for the Giants. You would think that the team with the third pick in the draft would have the third easiest schedule or something like that, but of course, Roger Goodell finds a way to just screw over the Giants. He sees how good the Knicks are doing. It's like, I got to make one New York team disappointing. I don't know how I mentioned the Knicks again. I always just find a way to mention the Knicks, but
always makes an entrance one way or another.
Yep, but I guess I'm in for another rough season. I love the Abdul Carter pick. I'm a diehard Penn State fan, in case you guys out there didn't know that. So I am very happy with the Giants' picks in the draft, but it's just probably going to be another, disappointing season. I do think they'll finish up with the Cowboys, though. Call me biased, but especially, if the Cowboys aren't fully healthy, because obviously Dak has an injury history, I wouldn't be surprised if the Giants, managed to slip ahead of the Cowboys. I know, George, you're a Cowboys fan, so you don't like what I'm saying right now, but
I'm just gonna let it all. Everyone has their opinions. I believe the Cowboys are going to come out of the gates guns blazing with their horrid team and find a way to beat up on the champs. I have the Cowboys winning in week 1. I have it. You heard it here first. Cowboys are going to smoke the Eagles 36-12 week 1. You heard it here. Mark my words, that will be happening.
No, that's just absolutely asinine.
Stop the presses. DJ LeMahieu hit one out. Tucker's in the back going crazy. DJ LeMahieu, comeback kid, at second base, taking over for Jorbit Vivas. Let's go Yankees. All right, talk back to the Cowboys.
You seriously have no idea how excited I am that DJ LeMahieu just went yard. I could do a backflip in here.
Tucker's spazzing out in the back. We love to see it. We love it. And Cowboys beating up on the Eagles week 1.
That's asinine. I mean, if you're taking any
like
bets
that
on this,
word,
by the way, if
asinine.
you do have a gambling pump, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. But if you're placing any bets for week 1, put all of the money that you have, please bet responsibly, and put it on the Philadelphia Eagles to blow out the Dallas Cowboys in week 1. The fact that you think that the Cowboys are winning week 1 just is laughable.
On the topic of weeks, back to the one last shout out. Yankee tickets available for June 5th, 2025 at 7:05 p.m. 718-817-2750. The question is, who won the NBA Finals MVP the last time the Knicks won a championship in 1973? That is, who won the NBA Finals MVP the last time the Knicks won a championship in 1973? 2 tickets available for June 5th, 2025 at 7:05 p.m. Call 718-817-2750. Back to football. Going through the Cowboys schedule. Eagles, Giants. That's going to be an easy 2-0 for the Cowboys.
It's a 1-1.
2-0, 2-0, 2-0. Bears, Caleb Williams is Caleb Williams. Expect mixed things from him this season. Green Bay's a loss for the Cowboys. Jordan Love is a dog. The Jets. Oh, the Jets. Oh, the Jets.
Cowboys win that game.
Oh, the Jets. What are the Jets doing? Cowboys. Bryce Young breakout season. You heard it here first. Bryce Young's gonna have himself a year. I'm actually excited. I'm actually excited to see what he has in store because I don't think he's a bad quarterback.
No, 100%. I'm excited for you to announce this next game because I have a very bold take that I'm going to announce once you announce this next matchup.
You don't think the Commanders have it in them?
No, I'm saying no. I think Jaden Daniels is winning MVP this year. That's my bold take. Jaden Daniels MVP season. You heard it here first. Saturday, May 17th, 2025 at 152-21. Jaden Daniels is going to win NFL MVP. You heard it here first.
I love that take. I really do.
I love Jaden Daniels as much as I hate the
Jaden
Commanders.
Daniels is a dog. I love LSU football. I love what they do with their players. I love that.
Jaden Daniels MVP. As much as I hate the Commanders, I love Jaden Daniels. I've been following him for a few years now, ever since LSU obviously, and I think Jaden Daniels won the MVP. I think he was a top 4 quarterback last year.
If he doesn't win it this year, he wins it in one of the next coming years for sure.
100%. He needs to win MVP. I love how good Jaden Daniels has played. 'Cause a lot of people were kind of skeptical about him when he first got drafted, and all I want to say is I told you so to all those Jaden Daniels haters out there. But I think Jaden Daniels wins MVP this year, or at least NFL Offensive Player of the Year, one of the two. Because I feel like normally the player that doesn't win MVP wins the Offensive Player of the Year. So
on the topic of schedule strength on the Cowboys, let's talk about the 49ers because Vegas says that they have the easiest schedule, and they did just sign Brock Purdy to a $265 million extension, which is
an overpay, but
it's definitely something.
I think that's an extreme overpay for what, the 13th best quarterback, 14th.
Yeah, we were talking about this before the show. One of the middle of the pack quarterbacks, and they signed him to a $265 million extension, which is questionable by their front office for sure. Definitely questionable.
Yeah, I think that's a massive overpay for. Obviously, he's not Mr. Relevant anymore, but
he's very much relevant.
He's very relevant.
He did. Tucker said it perfectly. Where he's like, you brought them to the quarterback to the Super Bowl. Didn't win a Super Bowl, just brought him.
Apparently, you can go to a Super Bowl, not win it, and get $265 million. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, congratulations to Brock Purdy. I never want to criticize any player. Congratulations on getting the bag. That's a huge, huge concert, especially after being Mr. Relevant a few years ago, and now you're getting paid. I think this is actually the largest Mr. Relevant contract in
NFL history. Yeah.
Yeah. So congratulations to Brock Purdy. That's a huge accomplishment, but I think we overrate Brock Purdy a tad bit, though.
Because he's Mr. Irrelevant, people overrate him.
No, if
they don't expect that from
if
the
Daniel
last pick
Jones had Brandon Ayuk, Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, George
Kittle, yeah,
and that defense, he would be top 5 in passing yards too. I have a lot of mixed feelings about Brock Purdy. I hope he proves me wrong this year and goes crazy. because there's a lot of pressure on him.
Let's go through this 49ers schedule, and I want to hear your opinions. Seattle.
That's a loss for 49ers.
New Orleans, that's a win.
That's a win.
Arizona.
As much as I love Marvin Harrison Jr., even though I hate Ohio State, I can appreciate Marvin Harrison Jr. That's still a win for 49ers.
How Arizona is playing this year, because the Cardinals, I feel like, are a complete wild card season to season.
I totally agree.
100%.
Decides to put Cod down for a couple of months, he's all over it.
I agree.
Exactly. And then who we got after?
Jacksonville. That's.
I'm gonna say Jacksonville.
I'm taking Jacksonville.
Travis Hunter. Let's go.
Give me Duval.
Rams.
That's a loss.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay. That's a loss.
Yep.
Atlanta. That's a win.
Yep.
Houston can go either way.
That's a loss for 49ers. Come on.
Giants. That's an easy win.
No, it's not. It's a loss.
Rams.
I think they split that series. I'll give 49ers a win.
Cardinals. I think they win again.
No, I think the Cardinals sweep the 49ers this year.
You do?
I think
Carolina. Give me the Panthers.
Tucker,
give me Bryce Young.
Tucker mentioned that Arizona's a wild card. I think for those two matchups, they take both against the 49ers. That's my.
The only reason we're not doing this for the Giants and Jets just because it would be a little too depressing.
Yeah.
It'd be very depressing.
Just keep saying loss. And I don't like how they said that the 49ers are going to win 11
breaking news. Pete Alonso 1-run single. Tied up 1-1. All right, back to what you're saying, George.
It's not DJ LeMahieu coming off the IL.
NL MVP right now, currently, Pete Alonso.
I don't know about that one.
Ohtani's the only other right answer.
Yeah.
But before Ohtani had that, kind of broke out a little bit, I think it was Pete Alonso. I don't know how we're talking about baseball.
Yeah, I know. Browns. That's
Browns will have the number 1 pick next year.
It's a waste of a game. Titans
win that game.
Cam Ward Titans.
No, I'm just kidding.
Give me the Titans.
Cam Ward era is now.
The Cam Ward era is now.
In Tennessee, mark my words.
Cam Ward would be what, the 6th best quarterback in the 2023 draft class, or something like that.
Colts, if Anthony Richardson
or Daniel Jones.
Anthony Richardson might be him.
I still have high hopes for Anthony Richardson.
I do too. I don't hate that Colts team. They have it. They have something.
They're like the Cincinnati Reds. They have a lot of players where they could be 10% better, 10% worse. And I feel
I think Jonathan Taylor can be one of the best running backs in the league.
He was for a decent time, and
then he wasn't.
He was also even a number 1 pick on fantasy football. By the way,
he was hurt.
Fantasy football season coming up soon.
Fantasy football is coming up soon. I can't wait. Anthony Richardson's gonna be, and Riley Leonard, Notre Dame legend Riley Leonard.
I don't like Notre Dame.
Duke legend Riley Leonard.
But I think 49ers Bears. I think the Bears can be really, really good this year. I have high hopes for the Bears. Caleb Williams now has weapons and a decent offensive line. Caleb Williams has no excuse to not be a borderline Pro Bowl type of player.
I like that. And then finally,
hold on. Mark Vientos, RBI sack, fly to left. Mets go up 2-1, top of the 4th, 2 outs. All right.
And last one is the Seattle Seahawks.
Seahawks are. I think the Seahawks and the Cardinals, Tucker, are probably 2 of the biggest NFC wild cards, in my opinion. You said the Cardinals. I'm going to go with the Cardinals and the Seahawks. Are 2 massive wild cards. You could either be.
I just think, we kind of know what to expect out of Seattle. We expect them to be, pretty decent, but I don't think, sorry, not Seattle.
Arizona?
Arizona is a complete, coin toss. Seattle, I expect a little bit more out of. Arizona, I literally have no idea.
And with that note from Tucker, that's going to do it for today's episode of One on One. Big shout out to Tucker Austin behind the boards, Sophia Smith on video production. Bobby Chaffardini came in today, showed a little love. George Sfouggatakis, Bradley Birne. Bobby Chaffardini is our sports director. And this episode of One on One on 90.7 FM has been a production of WFUV Sports.
Let's go Knicks.
Let's go Knicks.